Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Oh, it's snowing. It's snowing already, and a big topic of conversation is where will Sunday's Buffalo Bills, Cleveland Browns game be? We're going to get into that. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Bull, good morning. Still nursing the cold at home, correct?
This is a real pain in the ass, guys.
I think you're milking it. That's what I think.
He's crazy.
Trust me.
You're milking it.
For 2 years, I worked from home on the radio and had no desire to go back in the studio. But it's the opposite now. I'm losing my mind doing this from home. I want to be in the studio badly.
I can feel your frustration. I can't.
No, it is.
I mean, he does not want to be in his man cave right now.
It's different. Like, it's a different, like on this show, that's the cool thing about it. The energy is different depending on who's here, depending on what happened today. Like you pull in, and there's always a different level of energy that you got right now. So I see what you're saying, Bull. It is one of them things where I would rather be here too.
I need it.
Yeah, I did. I know
hopefully
you did
Monday.
shows from
Hopefully
home forever on the radio. I did the Channel 3 show from home for 6 months.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was you talk about no energy. And now the delay on the TV side was worse, a little bit worse. At least we're pretty much in real time with Bull, but it's still, I know it's frustrating. Hang in there, Bull. We're getting close. I know you're getting close. Hopefully we'll have you either tomorrow. Have you made a decision yet for tomorrow or for sure on Monday?
Probably hoping for Monday. All
right. Well, your seat's warm. We can't wait for you to get back. A lot on this show. Maurice Clarett's going to be here. He made a statement last week on the show talking about the Ohio State-Michigan game, which is, we don't want to look ahead, but it looks like they're going to collide as 2-3 and both undefeated. I mean, it's dangerous to do that, but when you look at who they're playing and how they're playing, I can't imagine one of them stubbing their toes on Saturday, but it could happen. But it looks like it's going to be Buckeyes 2, Michigan 3. That happened a couple of years ago, the Game of the Century Part 1. They're calling this the Game of the Century Part 2.
That was 1 versus 2.
That was 1 versus 2. That was also in Columbus, a game the Buckeyes won.
What a freaking game that was.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
The day after Bo died, right?
It was the day after Bo died.
Man.
I've got an incredible story on that game that I'll tell you guys maybe the week of Michigan, but it was just an unbelievable story. Maurice said something just kind of in passing at the end. He said, Ohio State doesn't have the same nasty as Michigan. And he didn't say Ohio State can't beat Michigan because of that, but he made a pretty clear point to say if you want to win championships, you got to have that nasty, and this team doesn't have it, which is ironic because we've been saying the same thing about this Browns team.
Yeah.
You know, where is the anger? This is a gladiator sport. Where I don't see anybody pissed off at any time, even when they're getting housed. And so he's going to be along in the second half hour of the program. And we're going to ask him about that statement, what he thinks about how they match up, and who in the top 8 Ohio State matches up best with, who he thinks might beat them in the top 8. There's some really good teams that aren't in the top 4 this year. I wish this year we had 8 in the playoffs or 12 in the playoffs.
That'd be great this year.
I mean, it's likely that Tennessee, LSU, Alabama.
Alabama would be still alive.
I mean, imagine a 12-team field with Ohio State. You talk about name brands. Ohio State, Michigan, USC, LSU, Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, you talk about a moneymaker.
Yeah.
So it's coming
don't worry, the
perhaps a year
SEC is
too
going to
late.
get 2, if not 3, in the playoffs.
What's that?
The SEC is going to get 2, if not 3.
I think they'll get 2. I don't think
playoff.
the committee would put 3 in.
If LSU wins the SEC title, they may get 3.
It's going to be hard for them to keep that third team out.
Yeah.
LSU's terrible. Don't worry. They have no chance of beating Georgia.
Man, I don't know. In that
Weird
conference,
things
man,
happen in those conference
in
title
that conference,
games, man.
it's you take those top 5 teams and
Yeah.
they're really good. We're going to get into all of that, but we're going to start with the Bills and the Browns. Why not? All kinds of discussion about what the hell's going to happen with this game. They're expecting not inches of snow, but feet of snow in Buffalo. Ashtabula, which is obviously east of Cleveland, already has a foot. They've closed a section of I-90. And Buffalo is further east on Lake Erie, so they get the full brunt of this lake effect snow. It's called a mega band, and it actually stretches the entire length east to west of Lake Erie. So if they get what they're supposed to get, we don't know what's going to happen here. I mean, 6 feet of snow, guys, they're not playing a football game if they get 6 feet of snow.
The governor's already called a state of emergency. They're closing the 90 thruway to commercial traffic as of 3 or 4 o'clock.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, the closer we get to
Guys,
this. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bull.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say this. It's stupid that the NFL has not made a decision already because I keep, the snow's supposed to be done by like Sunday morning, but by that point, how are the Browns supposed to get to Buffalo? And if they wait much longer, like say they want to play in Detroit, how is Buffalo supposed to get to Detroit?
Through Canada.
Because the snow's supposed to start getting bad this afternoon.
And that's the point I was making this morning on the morning show was it's not so much getting the team there. The players can get there fine. It's getting the equipment truck in. How do you get the equipment? And it's the same for Buffalo. How does Buffalo get its truck out if you do move the game?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably up through Canada, through Toronto and across Canada and back down. But yeah, I mean it's a logistical nightmare, and it's not so much the snow for Sunday. Like I don't think we're gonna, if it's in Buffalo, we're not gonna see the game with like the fields covered in snow and you don't know what yard line everyone's on and everyone's slipping and sliding. It'll be cleared by then. The problem is getting the stadium functional, getting the roads cleared, obviously. But how do you clear 4 and 5 feet of snow out of the stadium so that people can get into the stadium, especially when you need workers around the city? Clearing the city of Buffalo, not necessarily worried about Orchard Park.
Here's what I don't get. There's been talk about Detroit because that's what they did a couple of years ago.
Right.
Was that in COVID? Were there no fans at that point?
No, they gave away tickets for free.
Okay, here's what I don't understand. If I'm Buffalo, there's no way I'm moving that game to Detroit. That's a home game for Cleveland.
That's exactly right, especially if the tickets are free.
And here's the other thing. You've got Syracuse 2 hours away with a dome that's sitting empty this weekend. I looked on the way in this morning. Syracuse is at Wake Forest. Why the hell not put it there? At least then for Buffalo, it's going to be a home game.
Right.
That works.
I just don't understand why that hasn't even been talked about yet.
The Carrier Dome's big, too.
It's huge.
It's not like it's a little dome that can't hold.
No, it's like 65,000, something like that.
Is there travel problems getting from Buffalo going that direction?
Well, here's the thing. I also looked at the weather forecast. They've had 0.2 inches of snow already. It's not even accumulating. They're not expecting to get all of this lake effect snow because by the time it hits land, obviously it peters out. So I think that's your answer. I think that's your solution. I don't know why we haven't heard that talked about yet. If I'm the Bills, there is no way I'm moving that game to Detroit. Zero.
Yeah.
By the way, even if they moved it to Syracuse or they moved it to Detroit, the Browns are going to get smoked. It don't even matter. Especially, they should be hoping they're playing outside. Maybe his elbow gets tight. Maybe they could get a couple hits, and maybe they have to run the ball with Singletary. But if they playing in these domes,
70 degrees, climate control.
It is. Yeah. Oh, they might put a 50-piece nugget with extra sauce. By the way, stop messing with the sauce policy. I'm disappointed that I got to play a quarter for each additional sauce over
when did
a 20.
That start?
Oh, the sauce policy is in the hood is alive and well.
Really?
Remember that you used to get a 10-piece. They give you one sauce. You better like barbecue because that's all you getting. You might like ranch, but you got to get over 20 to even start getting 2 sauces. Don't like it.
I didn't know that was a thing.
By the way, guys, a factor here is that that the Bills are playing on Thanksgiving in Detroit.
Sure.
And so I know Steve just texted and said move the game to Monday. Well, they can't because
they can't.
Buffalo's playing on Thanksgiving. I mean, it's already a quick turnaround.
Yeah, Monday's definitely.
And that's part of the reason they're talking about Detroit is because they got to go to Detroit anyway.
Bull, what do you think of my
that would be an
Syracuse?
advantage
What
for
do you
the
think
Browns.
about the Syracuse option? I don't know why that's not even being talked about.
I just don't know if the players would agree to play on a college field. Isn't that stadium still like old school AstroTurf?
No.
Or is that not the case?
I don't think that exists anywhere.
That is
That's all
even at the
gone.
Rubber Bowl. That's out
all
of here.
gone.
Yeah, I just don't. To me, it seems like the.
I mean, it makes sense. Legit. Yeah, if it's not going to snow in Syracuse, which you're right. I just looked at the forecast as you were bringing it up. You're right.
And Bull, they play at Hall of Fame Stadium. High school kids play there.
Can you get Goodell on line 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me reach out to Steve. We'll get that on. We'll talk to him.
Mary Kay Cabot reported that multiple cities are under consideration.
Oh, really?
It's not just a slam dunk that it's Detroit. Pittsburgh's home, so it's not going to be Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Philly, I think, is gone. It could be Philly.
I mean,
maybe
if you're
DC.
Buffalo, anywhere but Syracuse, you lose the home field edge.
Right.
I don't know why you would want to, why you would even entertain the thought of, especially because of where they are. Having lost last week, now obviously they're in the throes of this thing. Miami is right there for the division. It's not like they're playing a top quality opponent, but the Browns could step up and smack them in the mouth if they're not careful.
Yeah.
Especially if the game was in Detroit.
Play them at the Meadowlands.
I'm sure one of the Jets or Giants are
The
home.
Jets are home this weekend.
Yeah, I knew one. I mean, almost every weekend, one
Somebody's
of the two
playing there.
are home.
But you're right. I mean, normally in past situations like this, when it's a neutral site, like late-minute move because of weather, they just give the tickets away for free. Can you imagine how many Browns fans would be in Detroit?
It'd be a home game.
It'd be 70% Browns fans.
It would be a home game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Bills Mafia travels.
Right. But they may not travel to this one. They're not going to be able to get
They'd
out.
be snowed
They
in.
might not be able to get out.
Yeah.
They'd be snowed in.
So let's talk about the matchup itself. And this is even tricky because we don't know, like, if it is a wet track or a snowy field, obviously all of this changes. But McNuggets has put together 3 different camps for the Browns this year. He's put together a camp of guys that have overperformed. They have been better than all of us thought they would be.
It's a short list.
It's a very short list. I've got 2 guys on my list.
I
don't
have
know.
5.
Okay.
We'll talk about it in a second.
I've got a high
one.
bar. All right. Then you've got a camp, and this was, I imagine, would be a pretty large camp of guys that have been who we thought they were. And then you've got a camp of guys who just have not played up to what our expectations have been.
That will be a long list.
Is that the biggest one? I would think, McNuggets, that would be your biggest list.
The underperformers is the biggest list.
Good. I would hope so. Now,
And
this
it
list
could
is
grow.
compiled by you only.
This was me, Anthony, and Earl kind of talking. And
Okay.
to give you a little insight on this, I think it was Monday we were talking about just guys just disappointing in the team. How we thought, even though we all thought they go 7-8, just individuals not living up to the standards. And I was like, you know what?
8-9.
I bet you if you look at the entirety of the roster, there's only a few guys who have really overachieved from what we expected. So we went through the top 30 guys who play in the Browns and split them into categories, and we're like, yeah, you know what? We all agreed on a couple.
Good.
Or probably 20, and there's about 8 or 9 that we're going to discuss
I'm
and
going
figure
through
out
it in my mind, and I got
where they
5 in
fall.
my mind.
So let's start with the overachievers. These are the guys who we are very proud of this year.
I'm curious to see if there's any overlap here.
Very
If you
proud.
guys disagree, we could go through that. Tell me
Okay.
why you disagree,
All
and if
right.
someone's missing, we could go through that, but we'll get to the main guys.
All right.
Let's take 95, Steve. This is expectation versus reality. The overachievers this year, Jacoby Brissett,
Yep. He's on my
Ethan
list.
Pochich,
Yep.
Donovan Peoples-Jones,
Yep.
Martin Emerson Jr.,
Yep.
and David Njoku.
Oh, wow. I've got Nick Chubb on my list.
We'll get to Chubb in a sec.
Okay.
We'll get to Chubb in a sec. He falls into I think he met expectations. He's been very good, but we expected him to be very good. I'm not sure he's been
Yeah.
better than we
It's a
thought,
high
but we'll get to
bar
that
you
list in a
set
sec.
on.
It is a high, like as it is for Myles Garrett.
Right.
But I to say that he's performed at par when I don't think he's leading the league in rushing anymore, is he?
He's 3rd in rushing, 1st in touchdowns. And Chubb is on the list of guys we're going to talk about of which
Right.
category
Do
they
you guys,
fit in.
Bull, what do you think about Chubb?
My expectations couldn't have been any higher for Chubb, so even I don't look at it as a downgrade to say, oh, he's just lived up to expectations.
Right.
But I mean, he's not. He would have to be having like the greatest running back season in the history of football for me to say he's
That's fair.
overachieving, because I expected him to be great, and he's been great.
And he has been. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
I could be talked out of that. I mean, that's Bull makes a great point.
What you mean?
So that he's just met expectations. You know when you get the grade card, before they started handing letter grades, you either exceeded expectations, you met expectations, or you performed below expectations.
Well,
it just seems like whenever I would get the meets expectations, I'm like, that's basic.
Yeah.
I don't want to be basic.
Yeah.
And I think when we put the check next to meets expectations, that makes it almost sound like he's basic, but Bull's right. Our expectations for him couldn't have been any higher.
I mean, when you're talking about high jumpers, the bar for Jacoby Brissett was at about 2.5 feet.
Yes.
And the bar for Nick Chubb was at about 11 feet,
Yeah, you're
8
right.
inches.
Yeah, you're right.
And he's still clearing the bar.
Well, here's the thing. So when you talk about Nick Chubb, if he's already we've already discussed ad nauseum his imaginary pitch count. If you can't do.
I heard that, Bull.
You can't do what you don't do. Who decides whether he gets the ball or not?
Yeah.
So if you telling me Nick Chubb was on pace to get 2,000 yards at one point in time, And then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, maybe either because, okay, I'll give you, well, we were out of it by 10 points.
Sure.
We had to throw the football. Or, maybe it wasn't effective as much as you thought it would be. The bottom line is, I think a lot of times when it comes to offensive production, especially when it comes to receivers and running backs, there's two things that play into factor. What play did they call? And are you being targeted or used?
Right.
So you can never go above expectations unless the thought process is, I'm going to feature this individual.
He's not the featured player in this offense.
He's not.
He's just not. The ball is in Brissett's hand way more times than it is in. And so by that measure, I think you're right. It's sad. I hate to say that it's basic, but he's met my expectations. I had higher expectations for him, but I think, if you want to look at anybody for him not overperforming, it would be the play caller. You got to put the ball in his hands.
I think he's the featured player in the – I mean, the quarterback's always going to have the ball in his hands. But I would argue that Nick Chubb is the featured player.
So here's how I define feature.
Yes.
When the ball is in your hands and the play outcome is determined by you alone.
Yeah.
And that it's no comparison. It's been Brissett. Just compare his attempts to – because that's how many times he's determining the outcome of the play. If he's throwing the football, he has more to do with the outcome of that play, certainly than Nick Chubb. And when Nick Chubb has the ball in his hands, he can determine the outcome of that play more than Jacoby Brissett. So as much as I'd like to agree with you and say that he is the featured player in this offense, the numbers just show that he's not.
I don't know, Bull. I
who
love
is-
your visceral groan.
Who would be the featured player on the Giants?
Well, I don't watch the Giants every snap, Bull, so I'm not going to make that assessment. But I would think it would be Barkley, but I don't know how many carries he's had compared to how many throws
I have the answer for you right now.
Danny's had. What's the number?
Daniel Jones
has
attempted
40 more
200
throws.
Yeah.
40 more throws than Barkley's attempted runs.
Okay.
40 more.
What is the number for Brissett to Chubb?
But
That
based on
answer for you guys
I didn't
right
look
now,
at it
too.
yet, but
No, hold on.
based on your
It's
definition,
130.
Okay, here we go. The numbers don't lie. Danny Dimes has 40 more throws than Barkley has carries. Brissett has 130 more throws than Chubb has carries. It's out of whack.
That's a lot of throws.
It's just out of whack.
Did you say 130, Mike?
Yeah, he has 290 passing attempts to 160 rushing attempts.
Now that's
But Kareem
stuns.
Hunt
I think-
also has 83
I think,
rushing
Bull,
attempts.
you're stunned by that. I think, Jason, you're stunned by that.
but guys,
That's out of
based
whack.
on your definition, Jay, based on your definition, Nick Chubb couldn't possibly have 290 passing attempts.
I'm not
rushing
suggesting he
attempts.
should. What I'm suggesting is
Yeah.
Brissett should not have 290
And-
passing attempts.
especially
But
if
if
you look at the caliber
but
of
if you
quarterback, right?
We're a run
Guys,
team, Bull.
if you combine the rushing totals of Hunt, you see the Giants don't have a Kareem Hunt. They have no backup, right? And even with that,
Well,
Barkley
Barkley doesn't get all the carries, though.
He gets most of them.
He does, but there are
Almost
other guys
all.
in that offense that get carries.
We got 2 more minutes on
Kareem
this, then
Hunt-
we have to get to the other two categories.
Kareem
We're
Hunt
not gonna
has
turn into
83 carries.
Okay.
83 carries.
Okay.
What's the next highest total of running back on
I
the
don't have it.
Giants?
You tell me. I don't have it.
I'll pull it up right now,
My
Bull.
guess is it's no more than 30. So that's a big difference.
29.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's it. So they're second. So if you combine the two, Barkley and Matt Breida, or whoever it is, and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, then they're getting actually Nick
Well,
Chubb and Kareem Hunt are getting more carries.
This might be the best demonstration numbers-wise that proves the point that I've been making all year. If you do combine the two carries of the Giants running backs, they actually have more running attempts between the two of them than
No, they don't.
close.
It's close. It's close.
It's almost
It's still
50-50,
more
Bull.
passing, but it's very close.
And you can add Chubb's carries.
It's not close at all. It's about a third. What are you talking about, Mike?
198 plus 29 is 227, which is 10 fewer attempts than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
That's close.
Real close.
Oh, I thought you meant compared to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
No.
No, I'm just talking about, and so, again, it's just when you look at what you have, and you can't change that at this point. This team was constructed to be a running team. So why aren't we? because that's the way they were built.
And I can look
They
at
are.
and besides this, I can look at an eye test.
This is the last point, G, and then we're moving on to the rest of the
Let's move on
overachievers,
because we've
underachievers.
argued about this nonsense so many times already.
Cooper Kupp, he's a featured player. You know that, right? Derrick Henry, he's a featured player. You just know that by watching him.
Right.
Tyreek Hill, featured player. You just know by watching him. Travis Kelce. Like, these guys get the ball and a lot.
Nick Chubb is the featured player of the Browns.
Despite the
I
fact
don't
that
know.
the quarterback has 130 more throws than Chubb has carries.
Again, so how would Tyreek Hill be the featured player on the Chiefs? He doesn't have as many receptions. You're just making it up as you go along, guys.
No, we're not. No, we're
it's
not.
obvious that Nick Chubb is the feature player on the Browns. Every quarterback in the NFL has more passing attempts than the top running back, except for Ryan Tannehill.
Well,
he missed some games.
You can claim that all you want. If your quarterback has 130 more attempts in 9 games, 9 games.
All right, we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, you have to because the numbers just disprove your point. What's
So-
number 2?
So,
it
by the
doesn't,
way, I
but-
put him at Met.
Then
He met
Saquon
expectations.
Barkley's not the
so
Barkley's not the featured player on the Giants then. So that's fine.
No,
We have
he is.
underachievers to get to. We have
Okay, let's get to the underachievers.
rest of the segments here. So Chubb was in the middle. We'll get to the rest of the middle guys in a sec. These are the players that we determine have clearly underachieved expectations this year. Some
Second
big
biggest
names.
group, right?
Second big. This is the biggest group, more than the middles.
Oh.
Guys like these are underachievers.
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 Okay. Oh, okay.
Guys like Anthony Schwartz, Davian Clowney, Greg Newsome, Jacob Phillips, Jordan Elliott, Taven Bryan, John Johnson, J.O.K., Jedrick Wills, David Bell, Tommy Togiai. The list goes on and on. Those are the biggest names.
We
that
don't have
matter.
the names on a graphic.
Do you have a list? Do you have a list by any
I
chance?
can send you guys the list. There was too many names to read on one graphic, so
How disappointing
it
is
was
that?
tough.
I
I'll
don't
go
think
through it.
most of those guys to me are not underachievers because I didn't think most of those guys would do anything this year.
Go through them one by one. Throw them out. Throw the name out,
And we'll say yes or no.
Yeah.
Because then we got into the middle group, which
we'll
is where
each
the
just say
discussion
under
goes.
or met.
Anthony Schwartz.
Under.
That was a
Met.
pretty low
Met.
bar.
And I had no expectations for him, but he's been that awful.
Met.
Met expectations.
Because I didn't think he was going to be
zero
serviceable at
expectations
all.
for him.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was gonna touch the
When
field.
they put him on the roster, I automatically said, well, they must think they can get something out of him, and they haven't.
Okay.
I got to put him in under.
I agree.
Jadeveon Clowney.
Under.
Under.
Matt for me,
I'd say under.
Yeah.
Greg Newsome.
Under.
Under.
way under.
Yeah. Way
Jacob
under.
Phillips.
I would say under.
Jacob Phillips
it's
shouldn't
tough.
be on the field.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
an under.
why is he out there?
Under.
Under.
Jordan Elliott.
Under.
Met. I knew he was trash to get.
I didn't have any expectations. I agree with G.
He
I had no
29%.
expectations.
I didn't see what they was talking
Yeah.
about.
Taven Bryan.
That's terrible. I met. If the Jacksonville Jaguars and your boy Urban Meyer get rid of you, you were terrible. That is not a pickup by any stretch of the imagination.
Taven Bryan shouldn't be on the list. He is a nothing player, and I don't know why anybody would have even considered
He was
discussing
he
whether
was
he
an
had
early
expectations.
free agent signing.
That's the Browns' fault.
John Johnson.
He's
Under.
way under.
Under the
Way
grave.
Hey.
Yeah.
J.O.K.
Under.
Under.
Jedrick Wills.
Under.
Under.
stadium.
Oh,
Under.
my God.
David Bell.
Met.
Under.
Under, because everybody kept telling me, hey, you know what? We drafted this guy high.
Man.
They love him in camp.
He
Met.
wasn't that high. He was a middle round pick.
But they was talking about this
it was their
man.
se-
There were
he was their second
expectations
pick,
for
though.
him,
there
though.
were expectations.
Yeah,
Remember
there
they
were
were-
expectations for him, and he's been on the milk carton.
He hasn't missed the ball all OTAs,
Yeah,
G.
I
Bush.
remember that.
Won't drop one.
Yeah.
I ain't seen him since.
Yeah.
Tommy Togiai.
Under.
Oh,
Yeah.
Matt, he wasn't
I
good
had
to
no
start with.
expectation for
He
him.
made no noise at Ohio State. At Ohio State, your numbers are automatically inflated. Remember, even when Vernon Golston was there, Vernon Golston looked like an animal. You're like, oh my, but he was terrible.
But even at Ohio State, he got the rub-off numbers.
Yeah, he got the numbers where he
Guys were paying attention to the real stars on that defense, and he was running
he
into
was
a
just,
couple.
hey, listen, let me just go in here and get in a pile. He made his money one game against Penn State. That was it. I think he had like 2-3 sacks. But no, he was not good.
What else?
So we got the middle group now. We got the middle group. This is where, well, it's not middle. This is where we need your help determining which side they fit into.
So you weren't sure on these.
Well, you already got one guy in here, Dave. Mike, who you haven't mentioned that should not be in this group. He's way under. But go ahead.
Who?
We're going to see. We're going to see
Denzel
what.
Ward.
Well, Ward's in this. Ward's in this
Ward
group.
would be under for me.
Way under.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys
Not
all
that
agree. We just didn't want to throw in there because he got hurt.
He signed the biggest cornerback contract
I
in
agree.
the NFL.
Ward-
And he has
Ward
come
was
nowhere
in
near
there.
living up to that.
Who better, Ward or Sauce Gardner? Sauce.
Yeah, that's not even a thought.
Sauce.
Jeez.
All right, well, let's start with this one then. How about Myles Garrett? Has he overperformed, underperformed, or kind of met your expectations?
I put him in under.
Under. I expected him to be an NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate. He's not.
And I'm going to go with under. Because there's sometimes where you just, like the game against the Dolphins, you know, they threw the ball a decent amount. You got to get home on one of them. Even if you got to do your own thing. Like, I'm dropping in coverage this play. Sometimes you got to give yourself the Troy Polamalu playbook. By the way, he had no responsibilities. He just was running around. Rover doing his thing.
Find the ball.
Sometimes they not going to take you out. Just do your thing, bro. But I have to say under.
Yep.
Even if we all agree that the rest of the D-line hurts his chances to be overly productive, the fact is we all expected him to be very productive, and he hasn't been. We can talk about his PFF grades all we want. He hasn't produced as we all expected him to. He's got to be under.
Yeah, under.
Okay, that's fair. How about Amari Cooper?
Met.
I think Met, yeah, because we thought he was a home run guy or a two-catch-a-game guy, and that's who he's been. He's had some really big games, and he's had some games where you wonder if he's okay.
We'll see. This is why this is important. I'm going to steal this out of Jason's playbook. This is why we got to see these dudes with Watson. I don't know if he's met or under. I'm going to figure out these last 6 games, though, because that shouldn't be an issue. Whether or not you're going to be targeted or if you're not getting he's not making certain throws where he may feel he can't get it there, right?
Right.
Brissett, sometimes he's not going to throw it with anticipation. He's going to wait till you open to throw it. He does a good job at it, but the next level is when you get a quarterback that can do all those other things, and then I'll be able to see if Amari Cooper is one of them dudes that, okay, he'll be good, he'll be tight, or he's going to disappear every other game.
Right.
I would say Matt. I would agree with the guys on this one.
Met? Fair.
I mean, he's been good, but he's not been great. And he is, 18th, I think, in receiving yards. And he's up there of guys that have good receiving yards, considering they don't have great quarterbacks. But he, as Jay said, he's right. He disappears some games. He's not consistent.
Yeah.
Okay. That's where I had him, too.
Hasn't been a bust, but
No, not at all.
No, definitely not.
He hasn't been a wow. This guy's given us more than we expected.
Jason, we're going to start with you on this next one. Kareem Hunt.
Under. Not all his own doing, but under.
Yeah. Underutilized.
I'll go with under so we don't have to start the whole circular argument anymore.
Yeah,
so he's underutilized, and I think he's underperformed based on what he think he should be able to bring to the table, because I think he would like to have more of an opportunity.
You know what's going to be gut-wrenching to me is if he goes to if he goes to Seattle or he goes to another team next year and becomes Kansas City Kareem again,
he's going to be good.
It's going to be maddening.
Because what will happen is there's a lot of times you don't see it until you get the guy in camp.
Right.
And what will happen is he'll get in camp, and he's going to turn it on because now he gets an opportunity to kind of prove, hey, y'all
and a new environment.
A new environment. And they're going to say, this guy, Kareem Hunt.
All that being said, I think the guy that could benefit the most from Deshaun Watson could end up being Kareem Hunt. I really want to see Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson on the field.
I kind of disagree with that, Jay.
Why? Look what he did with Mahomes as his quarterback.
I think they're going to throw the ball even more. And
I
do
do too.
Less opportunities for Kareem Hunt to touch the ball.
I do too, but if he's in the game and he's running routes, I just think that Deshaun extending plays, buying time, looking for the open guy, I think Kareem could be the benefactor.
And I like it. I actually think this will happen too. I think we now have a quarterback that has enough talent and cachet to be able to be like, hey, I want to run this play and I want to throw the ball to him.
Yeah.
We've never had that before. Jacoby Brissett and Baker, they was like, this is a game plan, shut up, get over here, we're going to check it down, and we're not doing this is what we're running. But now you got an opportunity. Well, guess what? He has a little more input because he can say, I can get that there. I think this will work. And if you haven't heard Deshaun Watson talk about the game of football, he has genius-level intellect when it comes to breaking the game down. Photographic memory, when he started talking about this is what we were looking at, it was a cover two, he dropped down, I thought I could get it in there, we were in a different, the way he talks about it is crazy. And I think he'll help get Stefanski to saying, okay, let's have a partnership rather than a dictatorship in what we should run because the talent dictates that.
Could be nice.
Okay.
Mike, I would say Kareem Hunt has been a disappointment this year. We could debate whether he's been underutilized. I'd say he has been underutilized a little bit, not dramatically. I mean, he has over 100 touches. As a number 2 back, that's more than most number 2 backs get. But if you look at his production when he's had the opportunity, he hasn't been overly productive. He's had his worst season in terms of yards per attempt. He's had his worst season in terms of receiving yards per attempt, per reception. He hasn't played all that great when he's been out there. I mean, I agree that when he goes somewhere else, he's going to be better. And I don't know that we can get that sick about it because no matter how, he was never, no matter how much you wanted him to touch the ball, he was never going to touch it as much here playing with Nick Chubb. It would be silly for him to touch it as much here as if he goes and is the number 1 guy somewhere else. I don't know that he definitely will be. But if he is, he'll have more opportunity. But he hasn't been great when given the opportunity this year.
No. And when he leaves, I think the last chapter that will be written was his time here a success or a failure? If you had to be that black and white about it, I would say it was a failure because I had way more expectation. When they signed him, I thought this is one of the most dynamic offensive weapons in the NFL, and he has not been that here. So if you're just passing out pass or fail grades at the end of his tenure, I'm going to definitely say his time here was a fail.
Think about that. Think about this. This is devastating.
And OBJ's fail.
This hurts
Jarvis Landry,
this
fail.
Hurts my heart to think about this because at the time Jarvis was in his prime. You had Jarvis Landry. You had Odell Beckham Jr. You had Nick Chubb.
Fail.
You had Nick
Not
Chubb.
on Nick.
And then you have Kareem Hunt. And at the same time, they end up giving David Njoku, a deal. He was still on that roster.
Sure.
Look at all of that talent, and you can say which one of them really broke out and was like a top 3 statistical guy.
Chubb.
None of them.
I think Chubb.
Chubb got there, but
I don't think the other, Landry never produced like he did in Miami. OBJ never produced like he did
that
in
wasn't
New
even
York.
close. That wasn't even close.
Kareem
I mean,
Hunt
20
never produced like
guys,
he did in Kansas City.
Jarvis Landry had more receiving yards in 2019 with the Browns than he has in any other year in his career.
His first couple of years here were very productive, and then they sort of went down.
What was the number when he
longer
came in?
here.
He was the first receiver to go over. Was it 1,200 in each of his first 4 seasons?
Yeah,
or something?
he
came in with
No.
He had
there
100
was a
some odd.
number-
It was catches.
Might have been catches, over
'Cause he
100
had
catches the first 4 seasons.
I'll look into it. We got 2 more on the list, though, before we get to our next thing. When you look at the offensive line, I think Poachers has exceeded expectations. Antonio and Teller have been solid, met expectations, and Conklin and Wills have been below. So when you look at the offensive line as a whole, as a unit through 9 games, overachieve, underachieve, or kind of where you expected?
I'd say they were expected because
Matt?
Postage is
I
such
agree
a
with Jason.
big revelation and surprise.
Yeah,
that
there's been a
offsets-
surprise and there's been a disappointment.
Yeah, and I know Wills gets hammered, and rightfully so. He's had some bad games, but overall, I still don't think he's terrible. I think he's average. I think he's an average left tackle, and you better get used to him because you don't have very many avenues to do any better than that.
But the problem with that, Jay, because I agree, I think he stands out as being terrible because of where we took him.
Right.
When you take a guy at the top of the draft, that's a position that you cement for 12 years and you don't think about it anymore.
Right.
It's hard to miss at that position
And
when
I
you
don't
take
think,
it that high.
I don't think he's a miss. I really don't think he's a miss.
But for where he was drafted, has he lived up to his
I think that's a
expectations?
big miss.
I think it's a huge miss.
I think because of where he's drafted. But look at the other guys who were drafted around him. They haven't been great either out of that draft. But when you take a guy where they took him, the fans' expectation is, well, we have another Joe Thomas now. And that's an unfair bar.
Well, yeah, I
to
wouldn't
put
even
on
compare
anyone.
to Joe Thomas. He's a
No.
once-in-a-generation player.
I watch offensive line play. I never thought under any specific circumstances was he Joe Thomas or ever would be.
No.
But that's the comparison coming
No.
off of
I
No,
never did.
no,
just because
not-
I
no.
think we knew with Joe coming in, and we certainly knew after 2 or 3 seasons, this guy is the generational offensive lineman that every franchise would love to have.
Right.
Now, it would be highly unfair to have those expectations of Wills. But where Wills was taken in the draft,
You expect more out of him than what
him
you've
to
gotten.
be a Pro Bowl player, and he has not approached that level. And you expect him to be a guy that you never have to worry about.
So is that on him or is that on the scouting department for taking him there?
Well, I mean, I don't know because I'm not inside that. I don't know. I don't know if he's putting everything into this that he should be.
Right.
I have questions
And he's
about
had,
that.
I mean, he had
some ankle injuries.
Absolutely.
And that will kill an offensive line.
Yeah.
If he has ankle injuries and he's not a really good bender of the knees and the joints, that's trouble. And then second of all, he played at Alabama and he played on the right side.
Yeah.
You can't just be flip. Like, very rarely do you project a right tackle to move to the other side.
Right.
That doesn't happen. Third thing, he does not have the traditional body type of a tackle. Right. You look at Joe Thomas, lean. Even at 315, Joe was never a bigger guy. When you look at Jedrick Wills, his body type is more like a guard. Right. Now, for me, I look at him, there's two things that are disturbing. One is he gives up at the point of attack a whole lot. Like, he turns around, they beat him, and he starts walking around. I've seen it countless times when you watch all 22. You're getting beat at the point of attack, and you don't continue to fight, move to look to block somebody. You're just standing up while your quarterback's getting smashed. And then another thing is the penalties. He has, and this is third year, right?
Yeah.
The penalty, the holds, the grabs, the undisciplined hands. As a lineman, your hands are supposed to be inside the frame of your body. So if you do grab somebody, they don't see it. He does a lot of this. And he said, that's not really a hold. Anytime your hands get out the side of your shoulder, they're calling it every time. The refs come to the locker room and say, guys, every preseason, guys, this is what we calling this year. You big guys, this is what we doing. He knows that. Is he a bust? No, he's just happened to be average. That's it.
Yeah.
Not a bust, definitely a disappointment. I wonder if they'd consider moving him to right tackle next year and having James Hudson play left tackle. I can't remember if he played left tackle at Cincinnati or not.
I flippantly I flippantly said that a few weeks ago. I was talking to Zach Jackson about that and said maybe Hudson's the left tackle next year and Wills is on the right. I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. I feel like Wills is league average at left, and do you really want to make it? I mean, we have no idea if James Hudson can play left tackle or not. He's been great at right in the spots that he's been in, but do you want to create a hole that doesn't exist? I personally don't think left tackle is a hole. Maybe you guys disagree. It's not what it could be, but I don't see it as a hole in putting the quarterback.
No, that's
at risk.
fair. I don't think it's a hole either. I just had I had a higher bar for him.
I'm not spending no resources to fill it. Like, if you telling me defensive tackle or left tackle, oh well, he's fine. He's going to have to learn on the fly. But
yeah, let's fix the left tackle problem.
Here's what I'm worried about: if you end up extending him to a long-term contract, is that I think the only reason he's not a liability is because Joel Bitonio is so good at left guard that it makes up for some of his flaws. And Bitonio's getting up there. So if 2 years from now, 3 years from now, Bitonio's gone or not that good, and then you paid a lot of money to Wills, that could really hurt you. Because if all of a sudden now you have an average left guard, well, now more of his flaws are going to come out.
And I actually think that's where the bill's going to come due on the salary cap.
Yep.
Carrying $15 million guards is a luxury that you can't necessarily afford when your quarterback's Deshaun Watson. You need it when your quarterback is Jacoby Brissett and Baker Mayfield. I don't know that you can do that. I don't know that you can invest $30 million in guards when you're paying your quarterback what you're paying.
Especially that right now, what we're seeing, when you run the ball that much, you're seeing two things. Either your running back breaks down or your offensive line breaks down. That's the consequences of hitting people every play. Teller is in the process of breaking down. We see it in front of him. He's lucky enough he just got to his big contract.
Right.
I don't know about that. He's had one injury.
I'll tell you, when you're a big dude and you have any injuries to your lower extremities and you're using that to fire off the ball, drive people, plant, it's different. It's just different down there. And he's already getting towards the age of 30. Guys don't, offensive line. And here's the thing. Linemen are playing more, right? Playing more longer years because they're in 2-point stance. They throw the ball a lot. The Browns are the opposite. Those guys from camp to camp they're piling, they're hitting, and these guys are the engine of what your team is. If there's one critique on that, the critique on a running team is people get old real quick. It's a lot of wear and tear on them, and they're just lucky right now. Look at Harris. That was a freak accident, but how often are you going to see a guard that's going to be able to run block, especially as violent as he is, stand the test of time? I think he's in the process of breaking down, and that's a big thing for linemen.
That may be the replacement right there for Bitonio or Teller is Nick Harris.
Yeah.
Yep.
If Posich can stick at center.
You said that. Yeah, I like that.
We got one last player. This guy's been up and down all year. G. Bush coming into the season said he could be the next Ed Reed. Tyvis said he has no idea what he's doing in the goal line at times.
Jesus.
So Grant Delpit, where does he fall to you guys?
Under the stadium next to John
My
Johnson.
Lord, just
Way
him and his boy. They're the Red Ranger and the Green Ranger. These dudes, y'all guys, boy, I had so much highs because I watched him at LSU. He was different. I don't know if it's the Achilles injury, but I don't see the ball skills. I don't see that. He looked like he got shot out of a cannon. You see those safeties flash. Boom. It's just like, okay, well, he's here in the area. I just don't see it. They missed assignments. I don't know what he is. Is it the defensive? Is it what they calling him? They're not playing him right? I don't know. I just don't know.
Below.
Yeah.
Bull?
Well below.
For Delpit?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, no, he's been. I didn't have high expectations for him,
Yeah.
but at least I had some expectation for him, and I think he's been a huge disappointment.
Huge.
When you see the plays like what Tyvis showed us against the Jets, where Tyvis said they teach you 101, put your heels on the goal line and let the route take you to the end zone, and at the snap, he backs up 6 yards into the end zone.
Crazy.
That makes me question his football IQ.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no
technique.
other explanation for that other than football IQ.
So here's our final tally,
You
guys.
never mentioned Greedy Williams.
He didn't play enough to even make the list.
Incomplete.
Yeah, incomplete. Our final tally of the top 30 guys, we had 5 overachievers, 6 guys who met expectations, and 19 underachievers.
And that equals 3 and 9.
And that equals
Easy.
3 and 6.
Or 3 and 6, I mean.
You're projecting.
It might be 3 and 9.
We know what he's thinking, right? We know where you at, bro.
No, listen. If it ends up being 3 and 9, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo and Tampa Bay beat them. But if they lose to the Texans, and there are you
Jason
can make
said
a
it.
case.
I'm
Jason's-
already on record.
You can
Jason's
make a
on
case.
the record with this.
I don't know that I'm ready to say that Houston's going to win the game, but I think it's going to be a lot harder of a game than people think.
And when Aditi
be
comes
noisy.
on, I'm gonna ask her because I'm looking at them standings. Whose future you like better? You like the Steelers' future, or you like the Browns' future?
You talking long term or this year?
I'm talking long term.
Because they just got T.J. Watt back, and they're a lot different team
But
when
be-
T.J. Watt plays.
I
because-
have no faith in Kenny Pickett whatsoever.
I don't either.
But here's the thing: I do have faith in.
They're finding out life after Ben is
Yep.
what the Browns have been living for 30 years.
I do have favor. I think the Steelers have never done this, right? The Steelers are one Deshaun Watson-esque type move from getting right back ahead of the Browns.
Yeah, but that's a pretty hard move
Yeah,
to
but those
make.
moves are very rare.
They're not going to do that. Gee, that they don't do that. No way they do something.
We hoping they don't do that. We hoping.
They've never.
But who would they
They've
get?
never-
Who's there to get right now
Hey,
anyway?
desperation and necessity equal up a
No,
whole
to
lot.
Bull's point, there's no one available. Like,
Well, what about Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
What happens if Lamar Jackson doesn't get the number he wants from Baltimore?
That's what you talking about.
He's not. They'll just franchise him. He's not
They'll
going. anywhere.
franchise him.
Yeah,
He's not going anywhere.
and they can do that twice, can't they?
Yeah, and they'll come up with a deal by then. And I mean, I've written this 100 times. The last time a quarterback in his prime of this caliber became available was Fran Tarkenton in the freaking 60s. Like, these guys just don't become available. I don't know what, like the Steelers, the Colts, I don't know what these teams are going to do.
Well, Tom Brady was pretty good.
Okay, well, that's once in a generation. What do you mean going to Tampa?
But in his prime.
No, in the prime. Guys in the
Well,
prime
he won
of
a
their
Super
career.
Bowl after that.
That's not his prime. He's
no,
not his
maybe
prime.
not for the mortal human, but if
I
you
don't-
win a Super Bowl,
I don't know what his prime. And that year,
I
he
don't.
threw
He's
for
redefined prime.
He threw for
Prime for a
4,500 yards.
quarterback.
All right,
used
but
to be
he's
28
but
to
he's a
30.
total anomaly.
LeBron won a championship.
He is an anomaly, yes,
LeBron won a
Bull.
championship with the Lakers. He wasn't in his prime. He wasn't in his prime in the bubble.
No,
No.
but what I'm saying is for we're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Carson Palmer
they
went
don't
to the
come
Raiders and
they
played
don't
well.
come available very
Right.
often, and that's a fact.
Right.
That's a fact, and I don't know where they would go, how they would make this work. Kenny Pickett, I don't
think that's
Kenny
the
Pickett's
answer. No.
Jimmy G's a free agent.
Yeah, he's not a franchise changer.
Tom Brady will be a free agent.
You know, we keep saying that Jimmy G is not a franchise changer, and he's probably not.
He wins everywhere he goes.
But man, the guy
I'm
watching him over.
What do you mean wins everywhere he goes? He's only been in one. I mean, he played
Yeah,
5 games in New England.
But he's won. He's won there. I know he's got a lot of talent around him, but gosh, you may not trust him completely, but do we ever trust Brett Favre completely?
No.
And I'm not saying he's Brett Favre. He's not. But in the right system, which would have been here, where you just need him to just be good enough and let the other stars take care of things, he could be that guy.
It's fascinating because I was as loud as anyone on go get Jimmy G. Jacoby's not good enough. And Jacoby's been great. He's far exceeded my expectations until you get to the end of game, and we've talked about that. The horrible interceptions he's had against the Chargers, the Jets, the Falcons, games that he had the ball in his hand
when they most needed him.
When you most need him. Would Jimmy have been different in those scenarios? We'll never know.
You want to hear a great Jimmy G stat?
Yes.
What do you got?
He is 10-2 in his career in games he throws no touchdown passes.
Dang.
That's nuts.
Insanity.
That's nuts.
It goes to show the quality of teams he's played for,
And
the defenses and running games he's been.
Did you guys see the video when he went to the Warriors game the other night?
Yeah, he's. I would trade lives with Jimmy so fast.
No, what the Golden State cheerleaders?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he was with like 7 teammates, and they could not care.
They were
less
like
about anyone else.
High girls, and Elvis was in the building.
Yep.
I mean, the guy's a good-looking guy. I mean, he's ridiculous.
You put Stefanski and Jimmy Garoppolo together, and the women of Cleveland will swoon.
The stud factor for the women in Cleveland. Like, I don't care if we win or lose. Just can we have more shots of conversations between Stefanski and Garoppolo?
By the way, this is a fact. This is an internet game. So basically, Kanye West used to say this all the time. Like, no, I think Jay-Z said it. He said, I'm going to call the paparazzi on myself. Well, rumor has it that Jimmy Garoppolo has a publicist that leaks this information. Like they would be like, they'll have it be where he does articles about how good looking he is, right? And that keeps him in the game. Like, it keeps him afloat. Like, we'll fish a story out there. We need to do a story about Jimmy and how good he looks. And then pretty soon, people just like, if you're in the top 50 People Magazine's most good-looking people, it's over. You're there forever.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
You get whatever you want. And he has these people who plant stories on blogs.
Well, that's what Hollywood does. Hollywood does the same thing.
I say, that's a dope little.
Hollywood has publicists, and I always used to be skeptical of this, but I found out for a fact it's true. A lot of the stars have publicists that will leak to the paparazzi, so-and-so is going to be on Rodeo Drive on this corner at 11:30.
Yep.
And so the paparazzi know, they get the pictures, they're splashed all over People Magazine and Us and all the tabloids, and it just keeps them relevant.
And
keeps the ball moving.
Then these people act like, I can't believe you caught me out at dinner.
Damn
with this
paparazzi.
with this movie star with an outfit on accident. I just do this for just.
You always know when they're caught sunbathing nude on a Paris beach.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
That's what you really.
All right, is Maurice ready?
Maurice is ready. We were gonna do a top 5 today on the 5 most memorable bad weather games in recent memory. We got Maurice, so we're going to save that for overtime. You can find that
our member
by becoming a membership.
Content.
Yep, memberships $1.99 a month for these cool custom emojis. There's more than just those 4. There's 12 available now. And for $4.99 a month, less than $60 a year, you get this overtime exclusive content after the show. Today we're going to talk about where we want this Bills-Browns game to get played if it moves, and some top 5 of memorable moments. But we'll do that after we talk to Maurice, who joins us now. What's up, Maurice? How you doing today?
As well. A little cold down here in Columbus, but all is well.
Yeah, you ought to be here. It's colder up here. You got any snow down there yet?
No, it never really snows real bad in Columbus, but the temperature definitely dropped. It felt like it went from 60 to 20. That's a significant drop. It felt like it. I don't know if it actually did, but it felt bad this morning.
No, I know.
Maurice, hey, man, hey, I know you got these Christmas gifts. You got kids, bro. Hey, what's on the top of the ticket for your kids for Christmas?
Oh, so the 6-week-old, he'll get spoiled by other people, so I don't have to worry about that, right? Good. But my son, he's into the Paw Patrol and what is it, Cars, Lightning McQueen and Mater. He's into that. He's into that phase.
My granddaughter's into that right now. Big.
Yeah, my daughter just got a license.
For her Her name is Hayes, so I made a mythical car for her called Hot Rod Hayes. And every time she picks up a car, I'll say, "What's that car's name?" And she'll say, "Hot Rod Hayes."
That's awesome.
It's awesome, man. That's a great age. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. It goes fast.
Oh, I know. My daughter got her license yesterday, and so now she's her Christmas present. She's only asked for one thing. She just wants her transportation, but I'm trying to push her transportation so I quit being like her Uber driver. And so she'll
Yeah. Listen, now so is this her first car?
Yeah, this is her first car.
So hey, listen, you already told her, like, hey, bro, we budgeting you out, bro. Don't even think when we go to she gonna be like, but Dad, remember when you was out here driving when you was in college? What was you moving around in?
No, so we made an agreement, and I gave her about 5 books to read, and I told her that if she gave me a 6-page report on each book, that we can go get her whatever car she wants, but she has to comprehend what it was I gave to her.
Wow.
That's dope. That's super dope.
Dude, that's awesome.
Look at you. Look, yeah, right. Hey, I hope you did them book reports. I want to see what you got. I need to see. Listen, good job out of you.
Hey, is she a big reader like you are?
Yeah. Well, it's forced. It's forced to her through school, and so I gave her As a Man Thinketh, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was a book on buying and flipping houses. I gave her As a Man Thinketh. So there was like 6 books that really impacted my life. And school gets a set of discipline. It teaches you how to work and gives you structure. And she's in a private school, so it's about like probably 10 girls in each class, right? And that's one thing, but I always tell her what you're good at and learning how to make money is 2 different things. Yeah. And I don't want her to trap herself into doing something as an adult just because she thinks that she needs money. And so we just start having conversations about, being autonomous over your thinking and you being responsible for yourself and just things I learned as an adult that taught me. And I told her that if she fully comprehends this stuff in these books, that, we can go get a car. Like a car is not, it's not that important, but just to have a different language as an adult and to go into college and to be a lot more self-aware and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Everything's better when it's earned than when it's given. And and that I know you know that. It's a valuable lesson. All right, so we got to bring up something you said last week that we really have been thinking about since the time you made the comments. Jason, that was a horrible attempt.
I know.
Jason just missed the bucket with his water bottle by
Giannis
about 3 feet. So we're going to play it. You clipped it, right, McNuggets? All right, so let's refresh your memory about this, and then we're going to have a conversation on the backside. Go ahead and roll it, Steve.
I'll tell you this, and I'll say it on this show, and you can take this as a soundbite. The Buckeyes don't have the level of nastiness that Michigan has. Ooh. If you look at Michigan, and I know I'm looking forward, yes, I'm telling you this. You can't win a championship without that stuff that you see what Georgia did to Tennessee.
Yep. Georgia
plays with a level of disrespectful nastiness. I'm serious. This is how you win. You can't win with cute guys. You can't win with 5-star, I put up a bunch of stats guys, right?
You need some dogs.
Nastiness.
You need some dogs.
Man, when I look at Michigan, and I'm telling you this right now, what fears me most is that these dudes are nasty, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And they beat Ohio State up last year. And, I don't know how you neutralize nastiness because nastiness can make, great players turn into chumps. And that's – I'm saying it right now. That's what I fear with Michigan coming up. But they'll play better. They'll beat these guys. But the game I'm worried about is Michigan. But I'll tell you like this right now. I don't see nobody beating Georgia. If Georgia do what they did to Tennessee last week.
So that's a very strong statement. But the question is, just because you're nasty, you still need the talent. This is the 3rd-ranked team. Mm-hmm. Are they going to beat Ohio State and Columbus next Saturday?
I don't know. It's tough either way, but I don't back down on the comment that Michigan is a nastier football team from what I've seen, right? And the way they're going to try to neutralize C.J. Stroud is to keep him off the field. The way that they had a lot of success last year was to line up, run the football, keep these guys cold on the sideline. Don't let these guys get into a rhythm. Don't let these guys get different looks on what the defense is doing. And that's how you neutralize them. Like, if you don't want Marvin Harrison Jr. to beat you, if you don't want Maya Williams to beat you, if you don't want C.J. Stroud to beat you, what do? You keep these guys off the field, you keep them on the sideline. They did it by basically lining up and just running the football and controlling the clock and minimizing what they did, right? And that's basically what I was saying. I'll say this until the day that I die. You can't win significant games without being nasty, right? And so what Michigan's going to do is they're going to come to Columbus and they're going to say, okay, we beat Ohio State last year from just being physical. So they're going to say, when you hit them hard and hit them in the game. When you hit C.J. Stroud, get him on the ground and hit him. When you hit Marvin Harrison, do it. It's going to come to the bully tactic. That's what they're going to try to do. And I'm just saying that it's not going to be a cakewalk. All the streak of like just beating these guys up and beating them the way that we beat them probably like the last decade, that stuff is gone. And I think that them beating us last year is what turned their seasons around this year. I think that's why they're playing better. I think they got the monkey off their back. They got some confidence. They don't have to walk around as the team who keeps losing to Ohio State. And, once you beat somebody, you believe you can beat them again. And if Ohio State didn't have that healthy level of paranoia, or if they didn't feel that, or if they weren't truthful and honest with themselves of how they got beat last year, then they are fooling themselves. But this won't be a finesse game. This won't be, tapping on the hips and things like that. This game will be nasty, and I think that's how Michigan's going to try to compete. And we'll obviously see what happens when they show up next Saturday.
Maurice, I look at these two rosters, and I feel like there's two or three places where Michigan has closed the gap. When you look at the defensive line for Ohio State, they had a pronounced just advantage up front in the trenches of what they had out there. That's gone. There's no Bosa's. There's no you don't see Chase Young. None of those guys. There's another area. You look at it. Even when they're in the secondary, before Ohio State has always hurt them with guys in the secondary. Last year, you saw they were able to keep up with Garrett Wilson and Lave. They didn't really kill them like that. And then the last point is Michigan now has what I call those hardball quarterbacks. Those dudes that are a little athletic, they can sneak and get a couple yards here or there. They can throw the little short passes. They're not asking them to throw no deep balls or anything like that. And if they get a quarterback that don't really have to turn the ball over, they can play what they like to do. They can play that physical bully ball, and the point is, they want Ohio State to be on the sideline thinking like, dang, man, we've been over here a while, bro. We really ain't even got out there yet. When the last time, and this is real time, TV timeouts, 4 or 5 minutes, now C.J. Stroud is over there looking around. I think they've closed the gap, and I think Michigan has they got a real shot to come in here and win. I'm going to just say it.
Let me tell you something else that nobody likes to talk about, right? If you look at Ohio State's roster, or any roster, right, who recruits a bunch of guys from either the West Coast or from down south, bro, it is totally different playing football in 15 to 20-degree weather. You know what I'm saying? It is totally different, right? When you sit on the sideline, like, it's one thing when it's 70 and you out there and you warmed up and the adrenaline running and your blood's pumping. And if you got to be on the sideline, you can jump back in the game and you've not really cooled down. It's just something totally different to play on the field than to walk to the sideline and then by the next series, your shirt underneath your pads is cold, right? And then you have to get back out there. That is a different element. That's something different, bro. And so you look at these guys who we go get from these better climates, who maybe used to playing football in November and it's still 70 and 80 degrees. It's the reason why those guys from down south, they hate to come up north to play football. You know what I'm saying? And all of that stuff is contributing factors. Like, if you look at Michigan they don't necessarily have that advantage where they've been this perennial program where we can pick guys from around the country. Harbaugh took his lumps and bumps and he built with a lot of in-state guys or regional guys and stuff like that. But it's okay. Just like Ohio State, when Jim Tressel came, he turned the clock and Ohio State went on a run and we dominated for a decade. Jim Harbaugh is trying to do that same thing, but you have to be aware of all of the factors that plays into a team trying to be successful. Like, do you think he really wants to hear, you make $9 million a year and you can't beat Ohio State? No, bro, he doesn't want to hear that. And this is not like a chunk program who has a bunch of D-list players. And it just, like anything, like you can look at a team on film and you can not know who they are, but you can see when somebody's aggressive. You can see when they're running around. You can see when they're tackling hard. You can see the effort. And every time I've just like randomly caught Michigan on TV because you watch them because we're going to play them at the end of the year, these guys just look like a team. And so then a guy that I grew up with, Steve Clinkscale, he's their defensive backs coach, right? So I've known Steve. I've known him from Cincinnati. I know him when he went to Kentucky. And now I know him when he's coaching. Like we played on the same Little League football team in Youngstown. So I already know how these dudes think, right? These dudes are not talking about like play soft football. This is aggressive, knock your head off, intimidate you, challenge you up in your face, get the most out of you type guys coaching these guys. So I don't know. And I'm only talking as a fan. I'm talking to somebody who went to Ohio State, have fun. You want Ohio State to win, obviously. But I'm never going to get on anybody's platform and the fanboy, the school that I went to. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get on the platform and say, hey, man, I'm here talking about football. This team I think is this. This team I think is that. And these are the things that I think that Ohio State needs to do to get better. But I've said it before. Ohio State needs to recruit more blue-collar guys, interior guys from this state. I think we've gotten away from that. But you need to go back to recruiting the best interior guys from the state and who play with a sense of pride. Like, I don't know, Ohio State's turned into like this. It's a cute thing now. It's very cute, and it's like Apple-ish. It's not like it's not. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it's cute now. It's not grungy. You need a level of grunginess to win. That's what I'm saying.
You need your dudes walking around in Timberlands. You want Timberlands, do-rags. You know what we talk about, the first down coats, the puff jackets. You know what we talking about.
You need blue-collar dudes, man. Like, so, give you prime example. We had Darius Scott, man. This dude was out of the coal mine. He was from West Virginia, blue-collar guys. Tim Anderson, nasty farmers. Ben Hartsock, nasty farmers. Like, you need blue-collar type of guys. Like, I don't need to, like, you need a couple guys who like to put the hats on the table for, like, their announcement, but you need the other dudes who, like, don't really care about none of that, who just want to show up, baby, and let's get it in. Like,
always talking about let's go get it. You trying to go get another lift in? No, I ain't trying to get another lift in. We just practice. I'm just saying, we only doing curls, though. No, I'm cool. Y'all do too much.
Yeah, no. And I'm not being hard on Ohio State. I'm just saying that I care about this thing so much, and I talk so much stuff to Cato Jr. I don't know if you remember Cato.
Oh, yeah.
But me and Cato, Cato's my God. Every year, you'll catch us on Twitter, misbehaving. Him and Marcus Ray. And then now you got Big Mouth Leroy. I hope he's watching too.
Well, DeQuell's watching right now, and he wants you both to know that don't sleep on Maryland this weekend, Jay and Maurice.
Yeah, well,
No,
Ryan
very
Reed
sleeping
is
on
We ain't never woke up on Maryland. Y'all got Juan Dixon. That's who you got. Shout out to Juan Dixon and Stevie Franchise.
Oh, they got baby Tua. So we just lost to 1 Tua. We better not lose to 2.
I learned a long time ago, you never laugh at an opponent before the game.
That is
Take them serious.
I don't have to play him.
Yeah, I know. You have to answer to it.
That boy, I think Bull talk trash to his son, anybody. I think he's never let nothing get by him. Like, he's like, Dad, how did I do? Terrible. You should have said it with more moxie.
We'll see. So, are you ready to make a pick on that game, or do you want to wait until game week?
I'll pick Ohio State, even if I didn't think Ohio State can win. I would pick Ohio State. So, like, I'm biased.
Now, wait a minute. You said a minute ago you're not going to fanboy just because you played for a program.
So I'll tell the reality of what I think will happen, right? I'll give the reality of that. But I always want Ohio State to win, just because you want us to win, and just because I make a bet with Cato every year. Cato and Marcus Ray, I always bet these guys, and no matter what, I want Ohio State to win. But I don't know. I don't know. I think my deeper part is that, like, there's a level of nastiness that I know that you have to beat the guys in the SEC who you will see in the playoffs, right? I think that's my thing. And one thing I've hated these 3 or 4 games. I just kind of fill the stands up and they become fluff games at the beginning of the season. I hate that you can't, this year we played Notre Dame, and that was a step in the right direction. But I just wish we beefed our schedule up a little bit more, and it mimicked, even though we're in the Big Ten, I wish it mimicked more of what these guys play in the SEC. because I'm telling you, I get invited to these schools to talk all the time, and these guys say with so much pride, man, y'all don't play anybody, and it's very hard to defend that. And, you see what these guys are talking about, man. You see, like I said last year, I'm happy that clip saved my talk about Georgia. Georgia is amazing, man. You look at their defense, that stuff is amazing. And you want, if we can recruit those same guys, if we can recruit from these areas, if we can go down to Georgia, we can go down to Florida, we can go down to Texas, you can get the premier guys from Ohio. Okay, if you can get these teams that rank well, play better teams, play a full schedule. These guys are preparing to go to the NFL. If you go to Ohio State, you're preparing to go to the NFL, and you're going to have to play, 20 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Prepare to do it at the collegiate now. And I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I like to see the heavyweights fight the heavyweights. I like to see the great middleweights fight the great middleweights. I'm like the competitive guy. I don't want to beat a team 79-0 just because we're Ohio State and it makes the fans feel good. I want to find out okay, we need 2 or 3 fluff games in here to recover because the season is long. Or let's say 2. You need two fluff games in a bye week. But let's put people on the skate. Let's put a kickoff classic. Let's take a top 4 team who won last year, went to the playoffs, and let's schedule them for week 1 or week 2, right? Let's take somebody. Let's fill our schedule up with meaningful games. That's what I'm talking about.
Has Ohio State ever taken a SEC team in a non-conference? Just you know what? Give me Florida
in the 70s.
Give me LSU.
Alabama in the 70s.
I don't think in the modern era, no.
Oklahoma was technically an SEC school.
Well, they were Big 12 at the
but
time.
they weren't at the time.
Yeah.
So what is sports? Okay, let's talk about something else. What is sports? Why do everybody hate boxing? Right? You hate boxing because people avoid people. Okay, sports is take the money out. It's machoism. It's I'm better than you. I think I can beat you. I think my crew is better than your crew. That's the essence of what this thing is supposed to be. And that's what makes it up. That's what makes it fun. That's when you were in high school and we're this team over here versus your team over here. That's where pep rally came in. When you're in Little League football, I'm from the South Side, you're from the East Side, we collide with each other. And once it starts getting manufactured into business, that's when it becomes something else, right? And so, no matter what it is, you just want to play the best people and go recruit the best player, go recruit the best coaches you can, prepare the best, and get out on the field and beat each other up, and then I'll see you in the playoffs. But when it becomes something else, it just becomes who cares about it, right?
Well,
and go ahead.
One of the things that we hope gets us closer to that is the 12-team playoff, which is coming soon, because you can stub your toe once, maybe even twice, if you're playing these top-tier teams, and you can still be okay. They're going to be teams with 3 losses that get into a 12-team playoff format. I'm just going to read you, Maurice, the top 8 as we sit here today. And I know it's expanding to 12, but just imagine an 8-team format with this. Georgia, OSU, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee, LSU, USC, Alabama. You would have Georgia's 1, Alabama's 8. That'd be a first-round game. You think the 8's going to roll over for that 1? Imagine the TV number that's going to do.
Man, imagine the TV number. Imagine, like you said, if you stubbed your toe early in the year and you get into a better groove at the end of the season. Imagine, like styles make fights, styles make boxing fights, but football styles that makes football games. You know what I'm saying? Your personnel, somebody may be injured, all of that stuff. But that's what you want to see as a fan. Nobody wants to see this decorated bowl game where 2 people who nobody want to see please see. You want to say
you want to bowl.
I'm serious.
Thank you.
6-5,
nobody care about that stuff.
6-5, Minnesota.
Listen, I went to OU. Put OU on December 2nd. Ain't nobody trying to see OU December 31st. We understand. We know what it is. We ain't no big harm, ain't no harm, no foul. Keep it all 100. You put us on against Louisiana Lafayette, and you're eating leftover turkey. You looking around. Hey, what's on right now? Hey man, we got OU. They said State. No, OU and Louisiana Monroe. It's a good little matchup.
So think about this. Imagine everybody goes through the rivalry week, and even if you take a break for a week, and imagine you roll through all of December and the top 2 weeks in January with competitive college football, bro, you'll be out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's getting it on. I don't know. I'm an old school dude. Listen to me. I'm old school. Get in there, fight it out, duke it out, take the best players in the country, the best teams. These kids that went to Under Armour camps, these kids went to collegiate camps. Like, I'm telling you, I was arguing with Vince Young at the All-American game down in San Antonio. Like, that's the pride of it all. Nobody cares about money. Nobody cares, like, you got this contract, I got this contract. I don't know. I'm like old school. I just want to, like, duke it out, fight it out, like, compete against each other. And then you live with the memories of, like, yo, this is what we did. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. Wishful thinking.
Before we get him out of there, could you put that graphic up where they show him running the ball really quickly? Here's how you know how Maurice is really old school, right?
The pads.
Because this dude got lineman pads on, bro. This dude got lineman pads. This man shoulder pads.
Hold on. Which one is that?
Hey, and Maurice, listen. How you get an elbow injury?
But that's after your shoulder was jacked up, right? That's after the shoulder was messed up. Yeah.
Hey, man, listen.
Hey.
Well, go to the next one. What about the next one?
Hey,
I don't know what these pads
So
are.
look, I got a quiz for you. Oh no, my shoulder was still messed up.
Yeah, he still got the
Tell by the
biceps.
sleeve on his left arm, that's when his shoulder was messed up.
Yeah. Hey, so G, I got a quiz for you.
Okay.
If you can, there's another picture, and there's a guy in front of me, number 55. Do you know who that was?
Stepanovic.
The one that we used?
Was it Stepanovic?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
no.
we'll pull it up right now.
All right, we're calling it up.
Oh yeah.
Is that Stepanovic?
No.
Who that 55 guy?
The face looked familiar, but I can't.
Maurice, he's turning in and out. We're losing Maurice. There we go. We got him back.
All right, we'll go back to that picture if we can, the one of 55 leading the way. That's nasty right there.
Give us a sec. Restart montage.
Nasty right there. Look at that face.
It sounds.
Yeah.
That's want to right there. That's effort.
Yeah, listen.
Give us 1 sec. We'll pull that back.
All right, we'll pull the 55.
I don't know who that 55 is.
Oh, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay. You don't know who that is? That is my man, Nicholas Mango.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's a small Mango.
Without the hair.
He had to be like a freshman or something.
Yeah, without the
Maurice,
hair.
did he
we
weigh
say
120 pounds? You look like you're 7 times his size. My goodness.
I know, man. He does look small
Yeah, that's
there.
Big Mango.
And running backs don't do that no more. Look how
He's
he got his hand on his back. Like, listen, setting his. They don't even do that no more.
Those pads are smaller. That's got to be either Texas Tech or
That's
Washington
early in the
State.
season.
That's early in the season.
Yeah,
You can
that's
tell by
Texas
what
Tech
the
or
fans are
Washington
wearing.
State.
Yeah, that's
before he
early
got
in the
hurt.
season.
Maurice, I got one last question, then we got to let you go here. But Nick Mangold's face mask has a bar under the chin. That has to be an old school look, or what's the point of that bar under the chin there?
Hey, well, I'm young enough to be old school. This 20 years ago. Like, I don't know.
Oh, that's true. I forgot I'm a baby.
So them face masks just came into play at the time. Like those are different type helmets. But the joint Maurice got everybody wanted that Dickerson. Like if you was playing running back and you play like growing up, you wanted the Dickerson. And back then it really wasn't even, we talk old school. They didn't have Nike gloves. Like the first pair of Nike gloves I seen Florida State had them on. And I said, oh God, they got gray gloves. I went crazy. But back earlier than that, it was the Newmans. And
the Newmans.
Newmans. Boy, them Newmans, you can wear them 2 times because they get wet, they start smelling bad, and them boys will rip off like paper mache. And they did not help you catch the ball. But them Newmans, boy, they eventually outlawed them. They're like, nah, we're gonna go to something a little more, concise.
Nike bullied everybody.
Yeah, they got everybody up out of there, man.
Maurice, have a great weekend. We'll see you Michigan week, brother.
All right, my man.
I might come in the studio for that one just to talk.
I hope you do.
Just to
We'd
pull
love
up.
to have you here.
Just to pull up. All right.
See you, brother.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks, Maurice.
Maurice Clarett.
Let me find out, Jay, you had some Newmans. Did you have some Newmans?
I absolutely had Newmans. Absolutely.
We have
I
a
can
D
still see the
now.
logo at the end.
And I got to ask the first question to Aditi. It's a very important question, Aditi. The Browns tweeted out yesterday their game day grind where you went behind the scenes with the camera and shot a lot of stuff. Are you trying to take my job?
Ooh.
Is that what you're trying to do now?
Not even remotely. It's just what Mike Tomlin says, right? The more you can do, the more valuable you can be. But I almost got run over, so that didn't go so well. And I couldn't actually hold the massive, huge lens. But I would say for a first effort, it wasn't so bad. Did you check out my gallery, Mikey?
Yeah, it's good. You can take Anthony's job.
What y'all don't realize is that
Anthony not trying to.
That's McDonald's money to Aditi. That's Happy Meal money. Like, she ain't worried about y'all little checks.
Yeah, I can't pay her what the Browns pay. That's true.
If only. And G, right now I got a bone to pick with you because do you know what I am wearing? I am wearing jeans.
Nice.
And do you know how hard it was to get into a pair of jeans? And do you know how many squats I had to do to get these jeans? And this is only because you said I need to start wearing jeans. Why do I listen?
Now here's the thing. Can you have dinner, eat in those jeans, and then still be good afterwards? Because that's where I fall into.
Wait, I thought that was the point. I thought that putting the jeans on so tight limits what you are drinking or eating.
It very much does.
That button is not staying closed.
My jeans are a lot bigger than everybody
Careful with squats, though, Aditi. Aditi makes jeans tougher to wear.
Yeah.
I mean, you start getting those
squats make them tougher to wear? I thought that the squats loosened them up.
No, you build a muscle in the legs.
You build those leg muscles up, everything gets tight.
Get it?
That's not, but the leg muscles, I'm a former soccer player. I run. The legs are not where they are tight. Let's just say that.
Okay. You have
See, listen, see how y'all going?
Down for the show. That's all I have to say. Thank goodness.
That is nice. Hey, you hearing anything at all about where this game's? I mean, I know they're talking about other sites if Buffalo gets the couple of feet of snow that we're anticipating, but we were saying that you better make a decision sooner than later because the equipment trucks, if they head for Buffalo, they could get stuck there. What is there a timetable? Is it indeed late Friday, as Dan Graziano said in this tweet?
I mean, I think that the league indicating that says that they believe that the trucks can get to wherever they need to get.
Right.
But obviously, this is a significant amount of travel, and there are people that I can tell you this. I know that the CBS crew doing the game is en route today, and it takes me back. I don't know if you remember this, but let me try. I think it was 2010. It was 2010, and the Giants were supposed to play the Vikings, and the Metrodome roof collapsed.
Oh yeah,
do you remember
that?
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember
and
that.
And the Giants were rerouted. I think they hung out in a hangar in Kansas City for a while.
Right.
I know that I went to Cleveland, then had to come back to Newark, then from Newark went to Detroit on the day of the game. The game was played in Detroit on a Monday. It was sort of insane and crazy. I know that the NFL is sort of a little bit more forward thinking on that or a little bit more aggressive in what it will do. But obviously the desire is to not have Buffalo lose a game. And so I think that they're going to give it as long as they possibly can before they feel they have to pull that drop dead cord. If Dan says Friday, then that's what the league has told him is that they have until Friday to make that decision. And look, here's the thing though, Jay, one other thing. The snow isn't supposed to start until tonight, until Thursday night. So it's not like you can make the decision today, and then what if the snow doesn't show? We all know how the weather gods operate.
We already know that Ashtabula here in Ohio has a foot, and they're closing I-90 to some commercial traffic.
They're closing the freeway in New York as of 3 or 4 o'clock.
Later this afternoon, right. I know we've heard Detroit as a possible option and some other things, but I brought up a little while ago, why not Syracuse? Syracuse is only 2 hours away. It would still be a home game for the Bills. Clearly, if you put this thing in Detroit, it's a home game for the Browns.
If the Browns can drive. Can they actually drive up there?
Well, here's the thing. We're not expected to get much this way. When you go to Cleveland West, it's not supposed to be bad at all. It's lake effect. So that mega band that stretches across Lake Erie, it's the far east portion of Lake Erie that's going to get dumped on. Syracuse they're not supposed to get much at all.
Not in that area.
No, so I just wonder, and Syracuse is playing at Wake Forest this weekend, so it's open. I'm just wondering why we haven't heard anything about Syracuse, because if I'm Buffalo, the last thing I want to do is play this game anywhere but Western New York. I definitely don't want it in Detroit. But I haven't heard anything.
Well, and especially, I mean, the Bills even haven't. The Bills, I think, have only had 4 home games so far, right? Wasn't this past weekend only their 4th home game? And
I'm not sure.
They obviously have one of the most rabid, best fan bases that there is.
They do.
I think that that's kind of a brilliant idea, Jay. I'm surprised that you haven't called Roger and suggested it to him.
I told
He's
you
on line
Nuggets-
one.
Really?
We're on
So
hold
not
with
to
Nuggets
use
right
Goodell?
now. Yeah, we're on
I
hold with
told
Nuggets
Nuggets
right
get-
now. Yeah, we're on hold
No, I
with
told
Nuggets.
McNuggets get Goodell on line one. I mean, it solves everything.
I was texting Zach Jackson.
I mean,
during the
I
show.
have his super secret email address if you want me to send that to
Ship
you,
it off
Jay.
to him. Tell him Syracuse.
Are there costs involved with that? Is there something?
There would be, but we're talking about the
Is it more
NFL.
difficult to use a college stadium? Would it have to do with the locker room? I mean, it wouldn't have to do with the locker rooms because if you think about it, college teams have way more players, so
Way
they have
more
to be
players.
big enough.
Yeah,
to manage that.
I can't think of any obstacles. There may be things that I'm not thinking of, but the building is available. It's a dome. You'd still get. It would be a predominant Bills fan base still.
Sure.
Go ahead and ship that off to the bat phone. Call
Zach,
the bat phone.
I was texting Zach during the show. He said it would have to be a last resort. They don't want to play in a non-NFL facility.
And I understand that, but this
Without
kind of is last resort.
Well, yes, it is. But is it if Detroit's open? And I
It's
understand-
not if Detroit is open.
No, but
Exactly.
But if I'm
they
the
think
Bills,
they're
I'm
a
the Bills,
stadium
I'm saying,
open.
why are we going to go 5 hours west and only 2 hours from the team we're going to play
Right.
when we can go 2 hours away and play it here?
I
I
don't
know
know
it's a last resort.
I don't know
but
if the Bills will have any say in. I think the league's going to tell them where they're going to go. Like, this is the point I made earlier. If it's Robert Kraft or Jerry Jones, they're going to tell them where and when they're going to play the game. I don't know, Aditi, does the Pegula family have that type of juice with the NFL?
I don't know that
to
it's
dictate and
about
call the
juice. I
shots?
just don't know that the Pagulas are like that, And as we know, Kim Pagula right now, who really has been running the team, is dealing with some health issues. And I don't know that Terry Pagula is going to call the phone and stomp his foot and, get on the phone and stomp and scream.
the Bills
Not that I'm
Mafia
trying
will.
to say that Jerry Jones and Bob Kraft would, but I think that there's still sort of this hope, this idea that it won't be as bad as the prognosticators are predicting. Although, Jay, I will tell you this, your weather report was really quite outstanding. Have you ever done that in your past?
I co-host a show with our chief meteorologist, so I pick up terms like mega band and lake effect.
Exactly. That's
Upper
what did it for
upper
us,
level
like the
low.
mega band.
They're calling
lake
this a
effect.
thunder snow.
Yeah, it is a thunder snow. These are the storms.
What is a
that,
thunder snow?
So
What
it's
is a thunder snow?
It's a radical
This.
system. It's a really big system, and it's all lake effect machine. But the band, because of the way the winds are coming and everything is right in line with Lake Erie, so it's going to pick up steam as it starts on western Lake Erie or eastern Lake Erie, western Lake Erie, and moves east, which is
Okay, so but
towards
this
Buffalo.
begs another question, right? Because the Bills have approved this like mega billion-dollar new stadium.
Right.
Which will not have a roof, which of
know.
course I like the idea of elements potentially coming into play. And, like when Miami has to go to cold weather or when a cold weather team in December has to go to really hot Miami. I mean, you see it in Miami, quite frankly, two games I've seen, both Fox and CBS made a point of saying that the visiting sideline is significantly hotter in Miami than the home sideline, which is under shade. So
it was 100
every
degrees
team
Sunday.
tries to play with something.
Sure.
But if you've got this potential that the weather is so horrific that it causes you to lose a home game, then we do have a mega billion-dollar stadium. Can you do
Well,
like a retractable roof?
Aditi, to that point,
Does that make sense?
but to that point, you have Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, and Miami, and almost the entire football season falls during hurricane season. Hurricane season officially goes to December 1st, and almost all of their home games are in the eye of a potential hurricane because that's when the tropics are churning. So, and we've seen a number of times we've seen hurricanes disrupt games in all three of those cities. So I guess it's the chance you take and you hope that it
But this
doesn't
is what I'm
wipe it out
saying is when you're
completely.
spending that much money, then does it make sense to have some sort of, again, retractable roof or roof structure or some way that largely it could be kept open? But if you're all of a sudden expecting 6 feet of snow, close the roof until the snow comes, and then on game day you can open it up. And if it snows while the game is going on, great, whatever.
It does add. I know it's going to be a big project anyhow, but it adds a significant price to the project to put a convertible top on it. So I'm sure. I
mean,
cost has
yes, of
something
course,
to do
but
with it.
it's almost like we're talking about monopoly money at this point.
Oh yeah,
especially with the NFL.
I do think, when we talk about cost, when there's this much snow, it's not like this is Green Bay where like everybody in the neighborhood shows up with their shovel and shovels out 6 feet of snow and prepares the stadium. Which, by the way, is maybe one of my favorite things in the NFL.
Yeah, I love
the people who live in Green Bay just come and shovel out the stadium. But I think snow games are. I don't know if this is irresponsible to say this because I don't know if they're more dangerous, and so I should be hesitant to say that. But there's an element that makes them fun.
Oh, I love
I
it.
think games that are played in, like where guys are throwing snowballs on the sideline, or you're constantly. I remember covering a game in Pittsburgh where they had to constantly clean out the lines, the down markers, and just so you could see where the yard lines were. I remember being in Buffalo in a snowstorm. I mean, I just. It's part of it, and it's kind of that idea of you have to win in any condition, whether it's 100 degrees or it's a monsoon or it's cold and snowy. It hardens you in some way. But I guess the issue here is, can you get there safely, right? More so than are these elements that you want to play in?
And where are they going to put 5 feet of snow that dumps inside the stadium? You have to clear the bowl, and you have to put it somewhere. Where are you going to? Where do you put all that snow?
Well, typically,
I don't know. I mean, I remember being in stadiums with, 10 feet high. I should have found you, Jason. Mike, you should have told me to pull up these pictures. I have photos of me in stadiums on 10, 12-foot high mountains of snow that they just shove up against the edge of the bowl, basically.
To me, that is football. To me, that gives you a badge of honor. You look at every other sport, you say, yeah, that's cute. Yeah. That's nice. But we do what we do, and get hit when there's 50 piles of snow everywhere. And I like the fact that I like the cold Super Bowl. To me, if you're going to play in these little regions where you're in California, and why would I give you a home and field advantage? I like to do cold Super Bowls. I like that. That's what football is.
You know what's so funny? So there are two that were supposed to be cold Super Bowls, Indianapolis and New York, and both of them had unseasonably warm weather for the week before the Super Bowl and the game. I mean, again, and this is why I think it's hard to – I think this is why, Jay, a decision hasn't yet been made. I don't know how much say either team really has, especially the Browns. Perhaps Buffalo does because it's their gate, it's their stadium. Yeah. But, again, I think the Browns right now have enough challenges to be thinking about, have enough worries, have enough concerns that the weather – I mean as much as Kevin Stefanski told us that the first thing he does when he wakes up is check the weather, I don't know that he's caring as much about the weather right now.
He's got bigger fish to fry.
Looking at their phones instead of listening to me.
I'm not.
I listen to every word you said. Stefanski gets up and looks at the weather. First thing he does is check the weather.
Aditi.
Like Mother Hen watching everything.
Aditi, my eyes are on the crisis, okay?
Oh, I was definitely in the chat. I was in the chat. They was talking about different things that I just had to jump in real quick.
I was hanging on to every word you said. Every word.
Really?
My phone's not even in my hand, so.
Is he throwing that water bottle? Jay, is Jason getting ready to throw that water bottle?
I'm going to throw mine right now.
I've never thrown a water bottle when you were talking, though.
I already threw it while Maurice was on, and I missed by 15 feet. It was like Giannis at the free throw line.
Yep, this one's
going in. And did he hear it?
You ready? This one's
No,
going
there's
in.
nothing to hear. It missed so badly, there was nothing to hear.
That
was in.
That was in.
That counts. Official judge, Jay.
And by the way, Didi, when you pulling back up, when you coming back to the studio?
Yeah.
She was in town and didn't come in.
When you come back to the studio?
When was that?
For the Thursday night game, right? The Bengals? Or what? No, the Monday night. The Monday night game against the Bengals. Yeah, but you know what?
I didn't come in until just before the game because I had to fly in from my own game Monday morning.
What about when you shot the stuff for the Browns?
What about Tuesday? You could have come in Tuesday.
I could have, except that I'm away from my kids so much, it would be hard to have.
I can't argue that.
Let's try to get her on the schedule. Well, can we get her on the schedule for when the season over? She ain't got no excuse then. She just pull up.
Oh, yeah.
Because then
so when the season's over, for sure, I'll have more time, and I would love to do that.
And then you're part of the show. We don't even got to be really nice. Like, you're part of the show.
But do I have to wear jeans? Yes. Does that
yes.
mean you're giving me 2 months to fit back into my jeans,
yes,
right?
Jeans game.
You've got a 2-month runway.
Challenge has been issued.
And you could work out with me and Jay after the show is over.
Yeah, the gym's right next door to our
The gym is right next door. You got to lift some weights.
I mean, I lift, I do planks, I squat. This morning I did a pretty intense, high intensity workout, but let me tell you, the jeans just are not quite as comfortable as they should be. There's a goal 2 months from now, be able to sit in jeans for a 2-hour show.
Buy bigger jeans. That's what I do. Just buy bigger jeans.
So,
fine.
Aditi, before we let you go.
That's what my doctor told me. Jason, I went to my doctor. I was like, what is going on? Why isn't this weight getting off? And the first thing she said is, welcome to your age, which I won't say, but you all probably know this is what happens. And then I said, okay, but that's unacceptable to me. So what do I do? And that's exactly what she said. Buy bigger pants.
Bigger jeans. Yep. I got skinny jeans from 20 years ago. I'll never fit in again, man. I just
But you don't throw them out just in case.
But
they'd be looking
bigger
at
jeans.
I got a pair of money makers. They fit like leggings.
Hey, Aditi, before we let you go, I know this is really a tough game to handicap because we don't know. There's a lot we don't know, but let's just assume they play it in Buffalo and there's a good deal of snow on the surface while they're playing it. Do the Browns have a chance here?
Yeah, because they can run the ball. I mean, I like that. And it's funny because I talked to Brandon Bean about this on Sunday. Actually, I was like, why don't you like to run? And he's like, what do you mean I don't like to run? He's like, of course I'd like to run. But his point was essentially that if Josh Allen is your best player, then you don't really want to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands. And in some ways, those little short passes, things like that can count as almost the run game.
Right.
But the Bills do not have a dominant run game the way that the Browns do. I mean, why couldn't you just hand the ball off to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt 40 times if you needed to? And don't worry about receivers running routes or doing whatever. I mean, I trust him with the ball. And again, sometimes I think a lot of it also does have to do with which defense we see, who's showing up. Is it the one that's communicating well and fiery and Myles Garrett wants to be named with the top 3 defensive players in the league? Or is it the one that, can't figure out how to communicate with each other 11 weeks into the season? So, and especially I think if you're playing a team that isn't necessarily going to run the ball 30 times a game and you do have to defend the pass even in crazy conditions. And let's not forget that in bad weather, the receiver always has an advantage over the corner because the receiver knows where he's going and the corner doesn't know where he's going.
So all of that said, you're picking the Browns or the Bills?
Look at her looking at her phone. Jeez.
Well, somebody's calling me from Dayton, Ohio. Who would be calling me from Dayton, Ohio?
Commissioner Goodell on his secret line.
He funnels it through Dayton.
Should I pick it up just in case?
Yeah, pick it up.
What do you mean you're about to give out my email address?
Go ahead and answer. We got nothing to do.
I can't pick. I can't.
You can't.
The Browns are so due. I mean, the Browns are so due, but my son loves the Bills, and my son would be devastated if I ever picked against the Bills.
Nice cop-out. So Aditi's going with the Bills.
Bull has one question, though.
I should show you what he just drew. His Bills rule. Maybe I could call it up on my phone, actually.
Aww.
I mean, the
Bull,
kid is
one final
just...
question.
Okay,
Aditi,
go ahead.
how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
Wow, they have matching shirts.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
It looks just like Josh Allen.
Wow, that's great.
I can't tell the difference.
That looks
I
like
don't know who the dude is, but he just drew
Let me
that.
say
Anyway.
that I'm sorry you've had to put up with this nonsense propaganda from J&G, who try to claim that the Browns are not a running team. So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you
just for that.
I'm going to ask you a trivia question, Aditi. Which team has the most running back carries per game this year?
The Cleveland Browns.
They should.
That is correct.
They should. They have the best running offense.
As should they.
Look, if Brandon Bean is unapologetic at how little he runs the ball, I think the Browns should be unapologetic about how little they throw the ball. If that's
Well, they
the
don't
formula,
throw it that little, but
They are
I actually
unapologetic.
think they're smartly balanced. But anyway, these
They
guys
are
a bunch of
unapologetic
liars.
about how much they throw it.
it would be smart if there were more W's to show.
There you
More
go.
V's.
There you
Trees,
go.
That's
Great
true.
retort.
Can't complain about that.
Take the dub.
Thanks, Aditi.
Aditi, have a
Bye,
great
Aditi.
All right, guys, bye.
Thank
you.
Bye. The great Aditi Kinkhabwala.
She's awesome.
She's awesome.
The Browns
this
will
weekend.
cover this week, guys. They're going to cover.
Oh, well, that's a win.
What's the line?
What's the
8.5?
line?
Down to 7.5.
Oh,
Oh, hell.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely say they better cover.
No. This one's not close, guys. This is the G. Bush theory of spreading the wealth here. We got to telling ourselves the Browns look terrible against the Dolphins. We get to the point where, well, Buffalo, they lost last week. All of a sudden, the snowstorm come in. Now, all of a sudden, the Browns is 7 points. Nah, these guys are getting smoked by at least 14. At least 14 against this squad.
We're making picks tomorrow, so don't give away your picks. We got to talk Cavs, though. We got to get to the Cavs.
Yeah, fifth straight loss last night. 113-98 was the final. Giannis, he was solid, but it wasn't like a typical Giannis game, 16, 12, and 8. But what it did was it opened up a lot of looks for Brooks Lopez, who was just hitting 1 3-pointer after another.
Explain your team to us, man.
I think he hit 7 of 9
we give you the floor, Jason. Talk that talk.
Are they more the 8-1 or are they more this team that's lost 5 in a row?
They're more. I still think they're a top 3 team in the East. I think it's them, the Celtics, and the Bucks. And listen, last night, so they geared the defense toward trying to stop Giannis.
Right.
Would you take your chances with Giannis at the rim or Brook Lopez shooting threes?
No, they did that's the right play to play, the way to play it.
And he made shots. So congratulations, you've won an NBA championship. You're one of the best teams in the league. And you did what you're supposed to do. Like, I know JB held like a half-hour meeting with the guys after the game last night and was really critical about their fat cats and everything else. I kind of looked at that and was like, man, they made their shots. If you're going to need Brook Lopez to make 7 threes and a dude off the bench, I didn't even know.
I didn't
made
either.
5 off the bench. If that's what you have to do to beat them, okay, I'll live with that because that's not going to happen every time. I didn't mind the way that they guarded Giannis. And I'll tell you what, guys, exactly what I said here on Monday, they may have to come to the point where they start running this through Darius and the ball's in Darius's hands. That's exactly what they did last night. When Darius and Donovan were on the floor together, the ball was in Darius's hands. Donovan initiated when Darius was out of the game, but that was the first game to me where it was kind of clear that they put the ball in Darius's hands and said, okay, run this offense. And no one's going to pay attention to that right now because the defense is such a mess, and it is. They'll get it cleaned up. I'm not at all concerned about this team. This schedule was always going to be difficult, this West Coast trip, and then the one home game, and then right back out to Milwaukee. Now they're home for a few days. They've got winnable games. They've got Charlotte coming in. They've got Miami coming in. They should get well on this homestand. They're going to be fine.
Yeah. So you do think they're closer to the 8-1 than the 5-game
Yeah,
losing?
I think they're much closer to 8-1.
Bull, what do you think?
Than the streak.
I agree with Jason. I think they're much closer to the 8-1 team. I think we're getting worried because they looked so good there for a couple of weeks, as opposed to my hair, which looks terrible. But they look so good, and now they're not playing as well, especially on the defensive end, as Jason alluded to. And so, panic is setting in because we're like, oh, we must have overhyped this team. They're not that good. I think, and Jason, I'm curious your take on this. I think maybe what this stretch has shown is that the Cavs do need a few more depth pieces, right? Like, because whenever they have injury, like Milwaukee was without 3-4 guys that are really, that are good players. Obviously, Chris Middleton's missed the whole season. Like, he's their second best player. He's missed the whole season, and they're still great, right? They had Connaughton's been out. They had, what's his name, the little white dude from Duke. I can't think of his name.
Grayson Allen. Drew Holiday didn't play yesterday either.
Drew Holiday, that's the
Drew Holiday didn't play. And, the Cavs are missing some of those, depth pieces, which they could probably use, another big man in terms of, a defensive presence with some depth. But in the end, we all knew there were going to be growing pains. We just maybe convinced ourselves they weren't going to happen because they played so great during that 8-game winning streak. And now with injuries and chemistry and learning the chemistry, we're hitting those slumps. But I agree. They're playing, I think, 9 or 10 of their next 13 at home, so they should be able to get right here for the next month.
I actually think they have enough. I would like to see them get someone different at the 3, but depth-wise, I think that Lamar Stevens has the type of role. He's perfect for that role. When they get Rubio back in January, they need to move Karis LeVert out of the starting lineup. I've said that since the start of the year that I didn't like him.
Let me ask you this, Jason. I think I would start Lamar Stevenson.
Possibly.
I'd look at starting, and I would tell him, because he's a junkyard dog. We talk about that little tenacity.
Talk about wanting to have dogs.
Yeah, that's him. And you tell him, we don't want you to. You ain't got. All you got to do is get layups, and we want you to start off. You're gonna be guarding KD. You're gonna be guarding Giannis. And make him your what's the name? The guy PJ Tucker. He's your PJ Tucker. PJ can hit inside corner 3, but I think about starting Stevenson.
I do think they're probably going to shake up the lineup, and you might be right. That might be one of the plays because I just think LeVert is overkill in that starting lineup. I think if you pull him out, bring him off the bench, give him a little bit more oxygen, to operate offensively and break them up a little bit. Maybe it's Okoro at that spot, maybe it's Wade, but I would get Karis LeVert out of the starting lineup.
Me too. He was right. He was right about that. The Karis LeVert thing, he just doesn't have. It's one of them things where he's one of those guys that count down the possessions where he didn't shoot.
Well, he's Amari Cooper in Boom or Bust. Like, he's the Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
He'll give you 41 or he'll give you 2. And you never know which is which. And they don't need 41 out of him most nights.
No.
You know, they don't need that. They need strong defense and make an occasional open shot. But Karis's game is geared more toward having the ball in his hands a little bit. And there's only so many of those guys that you can play together. And we've already seen Darius and Donovan struggle figuring that out. I just think, and it's nothing against Karis. Karis hasn't necessarily done anything wrong. I just think it's overkill to have him in the starting lineup. Bring him off the bench. When Rubio gets healthy, we're probably another 6 weeks or so from seeing Ricky. Put Ricky, Karis, and Kevin Love on that second unit.
Look good.
You've got a lot of depth.
Jetty?
Yeah, I think they're okay on. I'm not a big Jetty fan, but I think that they're fine. If you can go out and you can find another 3, like Brad was mentioning Carmelo the other day, I don't see the harm in bringing him in and taking a look at him. But for the most part, I think that they have what they have and they have what they need, at least for this year.
I'm not panicking. Bull said, there's no reason to panic. I'm not panicking. Especially with last night. I mean, with the lineup that they had to go to war with last night, I didn't think that they were going to beat the Bucks. And you're right. They put the ball in Brook Lopez's hands, and he made the shots.
Okay,
I thought they did a
that.
good job defensively against Giannis, and I think most nights you would play it that way.
Right.
Don't give Giannis his 40.
Right.
Keep him to a limited number and make someone else beat you, and that was the formula, and they did it last night. The losses that were particularly concerning to me were the Clippers and the Kings. Those are the games that, as you look back on, and now if you win those 2 games, and they were close in both of them, if you win those 2 games, it's not a 5-game losing streak. You're 2-3 over 5 in a really tough portion of the schedule, and everything's fine. The one thing this team has to do, they have to pile up wins when they're playing teams they should beat.
Yeah, agreed.
They cannot lose to these teams.
Lost to Minnesota as well.
Exactly.
And they were really undermanned in that game. And Minnesota was in a bad spot. That was a bad spot on the schedule because the schedule loss is a real thing in the NBA. When you're coming off a West Coast trip, the time change and everything else, that first game back at home, you're dragging around cement legs, and it really showed up there. Obviously, I think what this has exposed is Jarrett Allen's importance to this team, which we already knew. We saw that last year when Jarrett went out with the finger last year, and all the time that he missed, their defense unraveled. He's the linchpin, as good as Evan Mobley is. Jarrett Allen is the linchpin to what they do defensively. And then also, I've made this a big talking point for a year and a half, is it's amazing to me how hard they play, how hard this team plays at both ends of the floor. And I don't know that we've seen quite that effort level the last week or so on the defensive end. And now this is what happens. When you don't play as hard as they play on the defensive end, that's when you start giving up 60-point halves. That's when you start needing Darius to try and shoot you back into games, Darius and Donovan to shoot you back into games late in games, and that is not a winning formula for success. So they have to get back to playing hard. They will.
JB called them fat cats and said they, perhaps were reading their own headlines and all of that. I thought that was unfair to say after last night's game. I maybe would have said that after Minnesota or after Sacramento.
He's just trying to get their attention. Like a 4-game losing streak in the NBA, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And I made the joke earlier this morning when LeBron first came back, they lost 4 in a row that first year. It was like the sky was falling and the building was on fire.
Right.
And it's just a different perspective now to lose 4 in a row with a team that
it's 5, isn't it?
It's 5.
It's 5.
It's 5 in a row.
Yeah,
it's 5 in a row.
Right.
8
Last
and 6
night makes
now.
5. You're right. It's 5 in a row. And that's a thing.
Yeah,
like
it is.
It's
you hope to avoid it.
Sure.
But it happens. It happens to good teams.
I'm not at all worried about them. Not even a little bit.
I think they have to, and this is hard to say because I've only seen a couple of teams play like that. I've seen the Boston Celtics play where they had KG, Paul Pierce, where they just it didn't. Offense was like, all right, the Celtics might not be hitting shots today, but just their suffocating defense every possession just kept them there. Same with the Spurs. The Spurs would be like, in the prime Spurs, they had guys down low. They never had anybody to get you 40 or 50. I mean, they could, but that wasn't. They just played such defense that it was just like this is crazy. Like, how do we score here? And it's hard for teams to do that because I don't even think two or three championship teams that literally play that way. I think you could go back and look at the Pistons that play that way a little bit. But it's just hard, especially to get young dudes to kind of buy into that. But I don't know, Jason, is that the identity that they're going to have to hang their hat on? Because if I look around, they're not going to be as firepower ready as some other teams, right? They can score with them. But when I'm looking at, whether it's the Philadelphia 76ers, whether I'm looking at Boston Celtics, whether I'm looking at teams that are at the top of the Milwaukee Bucks.
The Nets even.
They can't. I mean, those guys can score and in a hurry.
Well, I think the Cavs can be that. I mean, Donovan can give you 50 if you need it.
Yep.
Darius has showed you he can give you 50. So they can beat you multiple ways. They can beat you if they're healthy, if they got all their pieces. They can beat you defensively with Jarrett and Evan on the back line defensively. They can beat you by outshooting you and outscoring you. I do think that this team is very versatile and how they can go about attacking teams. I think on any given night, I think they can score with anybody in the league with Donovan and Darius. Once they really figure out how to roll with those guys, and like I said, well, let's wait and see how it looks going forward. But it was really noticeable to me last night how much they put the ball in Darius's hands offensively and let everything run through him when they were out there together.
All right, well, we've got 15 minutes. You want to pivot to final takes now?
We got to do what the internet says first.
Okay.
And then we will get to final takes. Whenever we bring you what the internet is saying, it's brought to you by our dear friends at PCC Air Force. Excuse me, I was trying to change a super and read at the same time. Not too easy. Are you looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils at Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Not a ton going on the internet today. DeQuell was in the chat saying, don't overlook Maryland. He's on the show tomorrow. He says, gee, he's coming for you tomorrow. So I don't exactly know what that means.
Maryland.
That Juan Dixon. Shout out to Juan Dixon, my man.
DeQuell also said, I'm going to put this on a T-shirt and go to the grave with it, but he texted me mid-show, just tuned in. Has anyone called you Clark Kent this week with the comb over the glasses? I just can't with you right now with 10 laughing emojis. So I'll just go by Superman from now on. Thank you, DeQuell, for that.
You do got that.
We had a super chat from Donnie Stewart, and he was asking Maurice to give that advice to the Browns. He said they could use that advice. And shout out to Roadblock63 for the generous super chat. We appreciate it, Roadblock63, whoever you are.
Shout out to Roadblock63, bro. You out here spend. Hey, big spender. Shout out to you, buddy. I see ya.
And also, overtime content today. 5 best bad weather games and where we want to see the Browns-Bills game, not necessarily realistically, but we're in a perfect world, an ideal world, in a fantasy world. We like to see that game played for $199 a month. You can be a starter for $4.99 a month, part of coaches tier, and get that exclusive OT content. Bull, final takes. You're up first.
All right, guys. A couple of quickies before I do my final take. Number one, do you guys do Wordle, by the way? Anybody do Wordle?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 days a week, not every day.
Yeah, I do it. I find it obnoxious to people that put it up on Twitter every day, but I actually got it in 2 today for the first time ever. I was so excited.
Oh, you got it in 2?
I got it in 2 for the first time ever.
What was the word? Spoiler alert.
Oh, I don't want to say it. I actually don't remember, but I don't want to
I like spoiling it.
Number 2, Jay, this is for you and Jason in particular, because you guys like baseball. I recommended last week, I think, the Nolan Ryan Netflix documentary. Yes. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see it.
Yeah, I watched about half of it and fell asleep. And that wasn't a knock on the documentary. I was exhausted.
It's on my list. I want to see it.
So I want to go back and finish it, but I really did enjoy the parts I remember.
I watched another baseball documentary. This one's been out a while, but I hadn't seen it. I don't know if you guys have seen it. The Battered Bastards of Baseball. Have you guys seen that?
I have not seen that.
No, I have not.
It is really cool if you're a baseball fan. It's about an independent league team in the 70s in Portland, and Kurt Russell's dad, who was an actor, owned the team, and Kurt Russell was on the team.
No way. Wow.
And they played in the Northwest League. They were an independent A-ball team that was playing against affiliated teams, and I knew nothing about this. It was a really great documentary on Netflix.
How the heck did you come across that, my man?
It just popped up in my
stuck inside for 10 days.
Well, real quick before you get to yours, while we're talking baseball documentaries, I don't know if you guys talked about this on the show or not. I haven't seen it yet.
War on the Diamond. War on the Diamond, yes.
It's now available on Amazon Prime. Have you seen it?
Yes, I saw clips of it. Haven't seen the whole thing. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, Andy Billman's a buddy of mine who did it. I'm really excited to see it.
He's Believe Land. He directed Believe Land. Cleveland fan. It's all about the rivalry between the Yankees and the Indians, now Guardians, starting in 1920 when Ray Chapman was hit in the head by a pitched ball. He's the only player ever to die as a result from a baseball injury. And it's
I've heard a lot of good things
fascinating.
about it. Yeah,
I've seen enough.
I haven't even heard of it.
Oh,
really?
Bull, it's going to be really.
I got to see this.
Yeah,
you're going to love it.
I believe it's on Amazon Prime. It's on a bunch of different.
It is Amazon Prime. It may be other platforms too, but it's definitely on Amazon.
We will
Prime.
do a overtime movie review next week on it. So,
yeah,
all right. So Jason, if you watch it by maybe next Thursday, if you watch it, I'll watch it. Jay will watch it.
I'll watch it while I'm driving to Buffalo.
How come I ain't gonna watch it?
Well, you're gonna watch it too, G.
Yeah, that's like, oh, G. Bush ain't watching it. He don't even answer his phone.
No, G. Bush doesn't sleep. You have plenty of time to watch it. We'll do an overtime.
The last 2
movie
times I've
review of
called
that
you, it's
next
gone
week.
right to voicemail.
See, look, he be playing around, bro.
All right, guys. Here's my final take, and this is very important. Stop with the turkey propaganda. With Thanksgiving coming up, I tweeted recently that I don't want to eat turkey for Thanksgiving. I don't really like turkey. Shout out to my man Byron, though. He the last couple of years has made me a fried turkey, which is the only turkey I've ever really liked. But I'm like, I don't really like turkey in general, so why do I have to feel this pressure? People feel it's like you're being anti-American if you don't eat turkey. That's stupid. First of all, because of this, I decided to do research on this, which I had never had any desire to look before. And the reality is that at the first Thanksgiving feast, there was nobody eating turkey. Okay, they weren't eating turkey. They were likely eating duck and shellfish,
that is correct.
Not turkey. So this was started years later. This turkey tradition. So you turkey pushers out there. You eat all the turkey you want. Do whatever the hell you want. I don't like turkey. I'm eating prime rib. I'm eating steak. I'm eating whatever the hell I want. I'm not going to be pressured into eating turkey because it's Thanksgiving. That's all I got to say about that.
Random but funny.
Peer pressured.
Jay?
All right, I have good news for.
Wait, Jason, before you go,
yes.
Sorry, I hate cutting you off.
No.
I apologize. Can we trademark turkey pusher as a word? I've
never
heard
it
that
before, but
I
it's
kind of
so
love
true.
that, Bull. That was one of your most brilliant things you come up with on the show.
It is funny. Because there are turkey pushers.
There are.
Come on, you got to eat it. It's Thanksgiving. Where is that written in my Constitution?
Maybe
I got called a communist. Somebody called me a communist on Twitter because I said I was
Well, that's just
turkey.
a fact.
Yeah, you are.
But maybe we should put together like a little word
I'm not
book
a
of random.
communist.
I know, Bull. We're kidding. Bull is not, for the record, FCC Bull is not a communist. Don't.
Actually, Bull is a socialist. That's even worse.
Yeah, that's
now that's the worst thing,
I'm
right?
not a socialist either.
Bull's just a good person. But we're gonna put together a little
I'm
calendar.
a good person.
Some
I think
special
everybody
words.
should be treated fairly.
It
me a
should be
socialist
part
or a
of Bull's
communist.
vernacular. We need a Bull's vernacular dictionary.
And we'll
I'll
sell
make a
it.
whole
Pusher
dictionary
is in
for you.
there.
We'll work
For
on
the
it.
third tier of memberships, when we get to it eventually, you get a Bull dictionary.
And what's the other one? The
A nug nut.
field goal deniers. What do you?
Oh, field goal truthers.
Field goal truthers.
Field goal
and nug nuts or nug
I got a couple other ones for you. I got Baker Bros, of course.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden people are obsessed with Elon Musk because we've turned now Elon Musk into a political debate too, which is stupid. I don't care about his politics. I just care that he's screwing up Twitter. And the people that are obsessed with Elon Musk, I call them Muskers.
Muskers.
I'm
There's
glad he's
another
screwing
one
up
for you.
Twitter. I hope he burns into the ground so I never have to go on it again.
I read something yesterday that said not
Not a
only could he
bad
burn
idea.
Twitter down, but it's possible that if it goes bankrupt and it goes away, all of the tweets and all of the history book will be wiped away forever.
That'd be fine with me.
That would be good.
I'd be fine with that.
So they can uncancel people then.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Jason, you're up.
I am not a socialist or a communist. I am a capitalist. I make as much money.
Here,
as you can
here,
make.
baby.
I'm all about capitalism, and so is Major League Baseball. So I have good news for you. Chris Antonetti met with reporters yesterday in Cleveland, talking about the 40-man roster and everything else, and he said the payroll, quote, should be appreciably higher next year than what it was this year. It was right around $68-70 million this year. Expected to go up now again. He couched it, as he always does, with it depends on the market. It depends on what's available to them. They had money to spend last year. Nothing really worked out. They ended up bringing up all the kids, and they extended Jose Ramirez. Turned out to be a good thing. So let's wait and see how it goes this year. I've already advanced on this show. I want Andres Jimenez, Oscar Gonzalez, long-term extensions for those two, plus Tristan McKenzie and Stephen Kwan. If you lock up those four guys long-term this winter, that, in my opinion, would be a good use of funds. The payroll has to go up just because of all the arbitration guys that are eligible. And he got into other things as well about the Nolan Jones trade, which we can get into maybe next week. I was a little surprised at the return on that. I thought maybe they could get more for him, but clearly the market didn't dictate that. But the big headline for me coming out of that was that he expects payroll can be appreciably higher next year. Good news for a team that won its division, advanced to the playoffs on a $70 million payroll. Hopefully there's room to grow from there.
Double.
That'd be
Awesome.
nice.
Awesome.
That's my goal.
Well, I'm going to jump into it like what Bull said, man. You know, they're peer pressuring this man into eating turkey, and you shouldn't have to happen. You shouldn't have to be peer pressured into eating things that you don't want. So there's a couple of things that I always have on my pet peeve list. We've already talked about a couple of those pet peeves as we've spoken. I do not like people that let their kids eat candy before it's purchased. What are you doing? You're setting them up for long L's in life. You can't just open that bag of chips. I get nervous around it. But the second thing I don't like, my pet peeve, is I'm a very bland eater. I have about 5 to 6 things that I eat. Some things are strictly off my menu. I'm just not doing it. I don't like when people try to tell you say, I don't drink milk. Well, I got this special milk that don't taste nothing like milk. You should try it. No, I've already let you know, dog, that I'm not going to be pounding this pasty white milk. I can't do it. Are you lactose? No. Do you not like the taste? It doesn't matter if I don't like the taste. I don't like people that will tell you. You be like, hey, man, you know what, man? You like Eggs Benedict? No. I don't like Benedict Arnold or Eggs Benedict. I don't like either one. Don't try to keep telling me I should taste it. Listen, the first thing I always say, I got married. My wife is Asian. She's into Asian cuisine. And I told her the first thing is, I said, listen, I'm an American. I eat hamburgers. I don't eat any seafoods. I don't fish. I'm not going to eat none of that. And please don't be hurt to your heart if I refuse to eat your dishes and I refuse to taste your food. That has nothing to do with why I married you. I married you for other things, not cooking. I can go find all my other stuff. So please don't be harmed. Please don't be upset. But guess what? It doesn't matter. My mom is upset. I'm not eating that. My wife is upset. I'm not eating that. But guess what? You don't have to be that person. Just let G. Bush handle it. It's okay to tell your wife or your mom, I'm not eating that. It's okay. They'll still love you. Maybe. I've been divorced once, so who knows?
I've never eaten seafood, ever.
Really?
Ever. And I won't.
And your wife knows that, right?
You haven't even tried it?
She knows, never tried it.
Oh, I love
it. And he's not going to do it.
You know why? Because I've smelled it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to force you to try it. I'm just asking.
You know why God put our nose right on top of our mouth? So we don't put stuff in it that smells like seafood.
But what if he gave you a non-working nose like he gave me? Because my nose does not work.
Mine works.
And I like seafood.
I can't shovel that crap in there because I know what it smells like.
Scallops, lobster,
I know.
shrimp.
Listen. So you know what?
It's more for me and you, Jason. More for me and you.
I'm allergic. And that shuts down the conversation. Because
Yeah.
I've had people like, come on, just one bite of lobster.
No,
Nope.
There you go. Good.
Doing it.
And I'll give you one of my empty EpiPens just so you can fake it real good. To be like, listen, if I keep a pen with me ever, oh my God, I'm sorry, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that I would have never forced that on you.
It shuts down the discussion.
Shut the whole thing
Swordfish,
down.
oh.
Or you say it's against your religion.
Lobster roll in Boston. Oh,
I don't eat pork.
Crab cakes.
Pork?
I don't eat pork. It's
okay.
against my religion. No,
get
I
hungry.
actually do.
Oh, you do?
That's
I
what
do
you
too.
say. That's what you.
Oh, I see.
That's what you say when.
All right, I'll be quick. It's sort of where you were going, Jay, because yesterday I was looking at the available. I'm reading a lot of stories now from the Hot Stove League about who's going to get this, how much this player is going to get. And guess what? Per usual, New York's going to load up. They already re-signed Rizzo. They'll probably end up with Judge. The coastal teams have advantages in Major League Baseball because they're in the population centers. They have bigger local contracts. They can spend more money on players, and they have an inherent advantage. Doesn't exist in the NBA, doesn't exist in the NFL, doesn't exist in the NHL. But in Major League Baseball, if you're in the middle of America, like Detroit and Chicago, or not Chicago, Detroit and Kansas City and Milwaukee and Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, you have no chance. You have no chance because the playing field is skewed before you come in. Now, granted, this year, the Guardians, 28th in the league in Major League Baseball and payroll. They defy that odds. You'll have an outlier. But when is the 28th payroll team ever winning the World Series? It doesn't happen. I'll read off the top 10 in payrolls from last year. Mets won 100. Dodgers won 100. Yankees won 100. Philly lost in the World Series. San Diego made it to made a deep run in the playoffs. Boston flamed out. White Sox, injuries everywhere. Atlanta won 100. Houston won 100. Won the World Series. And the Angels, they're the Angels. There's always going to be outliers. You can say, well, what about the Guardians? They 28th and they still made the playoffs. It's got to be a more even playing field. You can't have one team spending $70 million while another team is spending $300 million. I want a floor, I want a ceiling, and let's even this thing up. It would make baseball interesting again in all 30 cities, for all 30 franchises. That's that. I've been screaming about that my whole adult life. It probably will never happen.
It's interesting to me. I've made this point before. Baseball is the one sport without a salary cap, and it's the one sport with the most animosity between players and owners. I think there's a correlation between
I
the two.
absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's cause and effect.
It sounds backwards.
I know it does, but you're absolutely right. Taking a 22-hour break. We'll wrap up another week of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show tomorrow. Have a great Thursday. See you.